Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Blank Check is the kindest, bravest, warmest, most wonderful podcast I've ever known in my life. 5 Oscars all around, and a 6 to Rachel for producing that opening. 2. She gets 2.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Blank Check with Griffin and David. I am Griffin.
I'm David.
And you know what it is. It's the... Let me just consult my notes here quickly. The kindest, bravest, warmest, most wonderful podcast I've ever known in my life.
Right.
And it's a podcast about filmographies, if I can get serious here. Directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, sometimes they bounce, and then there are movies like this where it's really kind of hard to decide what happened.
Yeah, what happened with this? It did okay.
It did okay.
Did all right.
It did okay.
For a remake of a beloved movie that no one asked for.
I feel like it was one of those things where everyone was like, why are they doing this? Then people saw it and they were like, it's better than we expected. And then no one ever thought about it again. No. And it did all right.
Yep. I guess that's how you'd put it. I'm taking my sweater off.
Okay,
Introduce our guest.
Jeez, Louise.
It's hot in here.
We're talking about the films of Jonathan Demme.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mini-series called Stop Making Podcasts. David's now fucking showing off.
No, I'm not.
He's got the
I still have glitter on my nose.
It's Hot David 2020, and he's flexing.
Yeah, I'm flexing. We went to something called Trolls the Experience this afternoon,
well,
so that's why I have glitter on my nose.
I didn't want to start big dogging our guest here today, but we did go to Trolls the Experience, which is closing this week. We had to get in under the wire, and I'll just pass around to the room so you guys can see, and there's full transparency.
Oh my God, what is he doing? Oh, you're taking out your scrapbook.
And I think it's important that you guys see it as I introduce you so you can react in real time to our scrapbook from Trolls the Experience, which is coming soon behind a Patreon paywall. It's a mini-series.
Sorry, I know you haven't introduced me
yet.
No,
you can talk.
No,
please talk.
So much crazier than I expected the thing that you were going to hand me to be.
Well, you sound stunned.
Yeah, well.
Imagine how we felt. We experienced it firsthand.
Not only did we do
this serious brick wall posing.
We paid to do this.
We paid money.
We paid money.
We paid American dollars.
Yep.
We paid American dollars. David bought a Pez dispenser.
I did. Yeah, you got that thing?
Yep, I got a cupcake.
Yep.
Rainbow cupcake and a extra large shirt meant for a small girl.
Right.
Which was on deep discount.
Can just about fit you.
It was my fit. It was the closest fit to my body type.
Right. What's the targeted age range for this?
I think 4 to 6. 30 to 37. Oh, you think 4 to 6?
I mean, we'll talk about it more on the episode.
We'll talk
but
about it on the Patreon.
When we walked in, they definitely have a button they hit with it's an irony group.
This reminds me of the time that as a 40-year-old man, I went alone to the circus and sat between a mom and her child and another mom and her child.
I will say this was kind of like that, except imagine if the way the thing was designed is that the circus had to be directly performed to you.
right. In a medium-sized room.
Right. Like it's supposed to be like, oh, this is like a group of like 15 with a mix of adults and children, and we perform it directly to them, and they were like, get all the fucking kids out of there. Two of these guys got ironic glasses.
Trolls is about to
get
nasty.
Yes.
Because we've got some adults to perform too.
Yes.
Yep. They did a great job.
But that's paywall business,
That's
baby.
paywall business.
Right now, we're talking mainline miniseries. Jonathan Demme, Stop Making Podcasts. It's the episode everyone's been waiting for. His 2004 blockbuster remake of The Manchurian Candidate. And joining us, long requested, almost since we started the show.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And it's taken 5 years to will into existence.
Essentially.
This turned from something nice into a snub. Like
no, it's just, it's hard to corral.
No, and I also feel like when we started talking, we realized at some point there was some missed exchange.
Was that when you came over to my bar that's also a front for celebrity coat stealing?
Correct.
You got your coat stolen at his bar.
Yes, and I want to say, Ben and I said in an episode, we went to a bar and had my coat stolen, and someone triangulated and went, oh my God, the Flophouse guys are going to be on Blank. Somehow from that amount of information.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
They said, okay, that must be Stuart's bar. And that's everyone.
Whereas after you got your coat stolen, I thought, okay, well, there goes our friendship.
There you go.
It's never going to happen
You've
now.
been rebooked.
Guys, I'm just
You threw out that
realizing-
cake you had that said Dan plus Griffin.
I did.
I'm realizing there was a snub, but we're the bad guys. This is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the question. It's sort of a Manchurian candidate-asked question of who's the ultimate puppet master here.
Yeah.
Why did this take 5 years?
I don't know.
I don't
Look
know.
at me.
I don't know.
You're not
figured
actually
it out.
you're not actually recording a podcast. You're just gonna take my coat and make me leave.
Right. I'm trying to get revenge for my coat. The Flophouse guys are here. Dan and Elliott and Stuart
Yeah.
in the studio.
Yep.
Long time coming. We were saying this when he walked in,
Uh-huh.
but the Elliott Griffin in the same room at the same time thing has been thrown around on Twitter as either that will be great or unlistenable.
Mm-hmm.
That will either be like a match made in heaven or like an immediately combustible combination.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now things feel pretty calm.
Yeah. You put some chairs between you.
Well, Elliott's a lot politer on other people's podcasts.
That
when it
is
comes
true.
To talking
I'm
to
a
them.
much I'm a very rude host, and I'm a very nice guest.
Yes.
And I'm still coming down from to having to defuse a 6-year-old meltdown earlier, right before this recording. So I'm
Okay.
like, I'm rebuilding my energy, guys. But but probably about 10 minutes in, I'll do a lot more like talking over people, interrupting them, singing songs no one wants to hear.
You had to affect your sort of grown-up energy
Yeah, exactly.
for once right before coming here, and now you're going
So
to
that's
slowly
just thrown.
recede
Your
back
calibration
into
is off.
Oh,
little
yes.
stinker mode.
Usually
Yeah.
when we record, it's all little
Right,
stinker. It's
right.
all I'm a widow bad boy. You know?
People don't understand that's how podcasting works.
Yeah.
You have to be a little stinker. Someone has to be a little
You
stinker.
must stink. It's true.
I mean, when we started this show, I said I want to be very, very serious and important and smart. And David, you said the same. And then the commissioner podcast came to us and he went, "I'm so sorry.
One of you must stink."
And I said, "I'll take it.
A
I'm
little.
smaller.
Right.
I'll be a little
You
stinker.
took the burden. Yeah, that's right. That's why you were 20 minutes late to Trolls the Experience today.
Because I'm on brand."
Look, you either die a respected podcast host or you live long enough to be a little stinker. That's what happens.
Now I don't want to dip into paywall territory,
No,
but
dip right in.
but did
This
they
is all
like
good teasers.
It's a good tease,
did
exactly.
they force you to like stand in a weird like waiting area like off to the side like behind like I don't know like a candy rope or something?
100%.
You're almost exactly
You literally, like, there's like
correct.
a rainbow archway. Yes.
It felt like Ellis Island.
I will say
and
this.
not like visiting Ellis Island today, like visiting it off the boat in the early 1900s.
Upon entering Trolls the Experience, everyone was very professional and lovely. The act of entering Trolls the Experience was weirdly hostile.
Incredibly hostile.
Well, that is the experience of being a troll. I don't know if you saw the first Trolls movie, but they're in constant danger.
And this is the difference. Once we entered, we felt like, oh, this is like the fun trolls party. We're little people trying to make the best of this big world.
Right.
But entering felt like they were trolling us.
And I
Not
wanted
like
to, like-
DreamWorks trolling us, but actually just in real life trolling us. Like
I wanted to
fucking
take
with
them
us.
aside and be like, you realize we like paid to do Trolls the Experience, right? Like, don't give us a hard time.
Yes.
Like, we're
Yeah, you're
already putting ourselves out here.
Right.
So is the snake the villain?
A great question.
A snake showed up at one point and everyone was like, watch out. And I was like, is he the bad guy?
It seems like you have seen the Trolls movie.
I've seen enough of the Trolls movie
Okay.
that I feel confident saying I don't remember there being a snake in it. But I
Interesting.
haven't seen any of the ancillary. No, that's not true.
Sure.
I saw the Trolls
Sure.
holiday special.
Okay.
Better than the Trolls movie. Surprisingly.
Interesting.
Yeah. The Trolls, but in the Trolls movie, it's a
Yeah.
lot of like trolls running away from giant goblins.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
which are called, I'm not remembering it, but I want to say Gremblos.
But it's sort of like Fraggle Rock. They're like larger
Sounds like something you could
creatures that are-
focus group with a bunch of kids.
Yeah, it's like it's like Fraggle Rock.
Uh-huh.
If Fraggle Rock was computer animated instead of puppets, and there was a lot more Justin Timberlake.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds a lot like a old lady who swallowed a fly situation where they're like, oh, we got trolls, got to get some goblins in here to take them out.
Yeah.
How are we going to get rid of these
Keep
goblins?
adding.
Got to get a snake.
Right.
Gonna need gremlins.
The entire process of making the movie sounds like if you give a mouse a cookie, that it just got out of hand. We asked the lady who was working there, like, is the troll the bad guy? And she was too busy dancing. Which is what she should have
That
been
was
doing.
she was getting
was
us
a
hyped up.
professional.
That's right.
We
Oh,
had to
boy.
sing this song. Anyway.
Hey guys, like Jonathan Demme? You went to him?
Well, Dan, you have very warm feelings for Jonathan Demme, and I have very middling feelings for
Interesting.
Jonathan.
Well, I mean, weirdly, like, Science of the Lambs is the one that like was his big hit, and that one's one I have only sort of grown to like that well. It was built up for me. I mean, like, Stop Making Sense. Stuart makes fun of me. I mention it on the podcast a lot.
Perfect movie.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it is your spirit animal.
Love Something Wild. I think it's such a
Great movie.
like it's got such a weird rhythm to it. Like it has like a sort of a straightforward story, but told in such an interesting way.
And you love Truth About Charlie, right?
That movie's interesting.
It's
even
kind
though
of interesting.
It's pretty terrible.
A lot going on.
lot going on.
I went to see the Hitchcock pastiche he did at BAM recently. What's that one called?
Last Embrace.
I liked that quite a bit, actually.
That one's like a solid sort of fastball down the middle. Sort of.
He's got a weird fucking filmography.
He's got. I mean, we have mostly watched all of his movies, and
Yeah.
it has been a wonderful.
Of all the
experience.
guys who are respected as kind of like, and I feel like he's been elevated quite a bit towards the end of his career, and like especially since his death. For all the guys who are kind of hold that level, his is one of the weirdest all over. It really feels like he's like, what movie can I get made right now? Okay,
Yes.
that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Well, but he also, I mean, he always brings to whatever it is, like this kind of like multicultural downtown New York
100%.
feel to what he does,
Sure.
which I
And
find
like
very
a
interesting.
big-hearted kind of
Yeah.
like warm and empathetic.
And he has sort
like-
of like a recurring company of actors he pulls from. He's
Ted-
got very
Ted
distinct
Levine.
visual style.
Ted
Ted
Levine.
Levine.
Charles Napier.
But it is weird because he's got a very personal touch on his films, but the choices of what projects he does can seem kind of all over the place.
He's kind of like, here's a comparison I'm going to make, even though I like this other filmmaker's films more. That's kind of like John Huston in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
You look
Wow.
at John Huston's filmography, and it's like, these are not movies I would expect to all come from the same guy. But when
Yes.
you watch them, you're like, okay, these make sense together. There's something about them.
Well,
you
we
know?
talked about this when we did Ang Lee on the show a couple
Yeah,
years
yeah.
ago, where he's another guy who weirdly feels like he's got the mentality of like a 40s studio filmmaker.
Yeah.
Where it's like, pass me 3 a year. I want to take my shot at everything.
Right.
And so often when we're covering modern filmmakers, people are so much more deliberate about their career that when they make a movie that doesn't really work, it's like a real calculated move that doesn't work.
And if it's a female filmmaker that makes a movie that doesn't work, we never hear of them again.
You never
they're-
work.
They're
So that's-
taken outside and shot, or
Yes.
whatever it is Hollywood
Yes.
does with them.
I mean, it could kind of just make them go work in
They make
advertising, I
TV
think,
shows
mostly,
or
yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah,
right.
right. You
That's,
direct 15 episodes of Last Man Standing.
Hey.
Yeah.
He's the last man standing. Is that the concept? There's no more men alive in that sitcom world? Is that
That's actually the
York
plot of
Brown.
a different show with a similar title.
All right, fair
And
enough.
it's called The Last Guy.
It's called
the
Why
premise
the
of
Last Man.
Standing.
No more boys.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was going to refer to a conversation we had before recording. Why The Last Man? That's one of those things that they talk about all the time. And
That's
doesn't
right.
get
Why
made.
the Last
Yes.
Man is the Uncharted of TV, of like prestige.
The
TV.
perennial, like it never happens.
Which I
Right.
guess has been filming for 6 months, but has lost 4 showrunners and might never see the air.
Much like, and the Snowpiercer, the TV show, is another
That's
one.
another
Right.
one.
Where they're like, it's going to be on TNT. I don't know. Like, right? Yeah, like,
We were talking prior to recording about the Akira, Chaos Walking, Uncharted movie.
yeah.
The long promised, we promise that we start
definitely
tomorrow.
are gonna. We're building sets.
Yes, we have. Look at our call sheet.
Right.
Everyone's waking up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning to start shooting an Akira movie.
And then at 4:55, they're like, yeah, don't show up.
And to think, like, just a few years ago, we could have added Preacher to that list. But then they made a show.
And they did it.
Hey, we got Good Omens. We got American Gods.
It's true. A lot of, I mean, TV obviously.
TV's been picking up a lot
yeah.
of the slack.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
it's the new movies.
Yeah.
TV?
It's all Witchers now, right?
You know what?
Yeah,
Everything's The
I-
Witcher.
I like that Witcher. I gotta say, I'm enjoying The
No,
Witcher.
but you know what? Elliott
What?
raises a really good point.
Okay.
Some of these things on TV, they're like movies these days. No, because I was reading Obama's list, and some of these TV shows are so powerful that they're almost like movies.
That's right.
Well, it's like every movie I've ever seen. I've always
Yes.
been like, this would be better if it was 10 hours long
Totally.
Yeah.
and filled with unnecessary padding.
100%.
Right. I like it when you take a while for anything to happen. Like
Right.
a good long while.
I like the experience of saying, this show should be interesting. I love the book. It's a great concept. And then I watch an hour of it and I go, they're exactly in the same place they were when they started this hour.
I like
Why
it
am I
eventually.
watching The Man in the High
Chapter.
Castle? I named the
Okay.
thing that I was talking about.
I like it. I like it when they insert at least one like motorcycle chase each hour too.
I mean, well, to be honest, that is the way that a lot of 80s action shows were, where they were like,
Yeah.
this scene, we find out what the crime is. This scene, it's a red herring, motorcycle chase, motorcycle chase, motorcycle chase. They catch the guy. We find out what happened, and freeze frame, we're done.
You get around to it. You know what my favorite thing is about movies?
Tell me. The popcorn?
Well, no, I was gonna say like comparing movies to TV.
Screen
right?
scramblers.
yeah.
I love going to the movies. I love grabbing a big
You saying
bucket
you
of
loved the movie?
buttery. I loved a movie.
Right.
I love a big bucket of buttery popcorn. I love a ticket taker with his little epaulets going like
You
right
gotta
this
have
way,
epaulets.
the
Yeah,
silver
yeah.
screen.
Right, and a little elevator operator
And
cap
I love
or whatever.
sitting down. Oh, that giant screen.
Oh, the big curtains
The
just
big
part,
curtains
and the organ
parting.
plays a fanfare.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. And every time I go, the only thing that's missing is I wish I was watching this in the same room that my laundry bag is in. And that's why I love TV. I love prestige TV because I can fully immerse myself in a 10-hour movie. It's like a 10-hour movie.
I love Martin Scorsese, but could I watch it on a phone while I'm taking a dump?
That's my goal.
Finally, yes, I can.
So Last Man Standing has aired 152 episodes.
We've been talking a lot about
I
Last
mean,
Man
I know
Standing.
a friend of mine, her dad has been a writer a long time for Last Man Standing. It's good work. I'm glad he has it, you know.
Make that money. Hector Elizondo's on it.
A
He's
regular.
a cast member, one of my favorite
Caitlin
of my
Dever
favorite
is
of all time.
still
yeah.
on it,
Caitlin
despite
Dever.
like becoming like the biggest star of the year this year.
Nancy Travis?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, so that's like what I mean. I don't know. Do the math. What that's like a 75-hour movie or whatever.
Yeah. And it really does play as an intentional 75-hour movie.
Yeah.
They're telling one story, and it's about a man who cannot get a word in edgewise.
I think
Apparently-
High Age of Cinema said it was the best film
They
of the year.
loved it. They
Apparently,
fucking
Jay
that the
Leno recurs on that show. Did you know that he plays a
wow.
guy who works at an auto shop?
Oh,
What?
that's his
I'm
dream.
not kidding.
a garage?
Now I want to imagine the moment when they said, "Mr. Leno, we want to talk to you about your wardrobe," and he said, "Don't worry, I got it."
I want to find out how
Are
many
you implying
He's been on
you only
14
need
episodes.
that's? Wait, I'm sorry, Elliot. Are you implying there's one type of fabric that Jay would be more inclined
I'm
to
just
wear?
saying his skin
Than
may
us.
be allergic
Seersucker?
to all but one type of Gold Rush related fabric.
But surely a dark version of that fabric, right?
No, you might want to throw some acid on
Oh,
it.
okay.
You're gonna want to cut down the natural dander, which he is also allergic to. Deathly, yeah.
He likes his denim style.
just
as
acid
much-
thrown on it.
As much acid right to the
Now that I
face
think
as
about
possible.
it, two major Batman villains with acid thrown in their face.
Jay Leno and
Yeah, Jay Leno and oh boy, those poor dudes.
Jay Leno. I kind of wish now that I'm thinking about it that Jay Leno had played the Robert De Niro part.
in Joker?
That would have been.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
would have
if
been
the,
well,
if the movie
especially
had been
given
made
the ending.
15 years ago, he would have.
Yeah.
Especially given the ending.
Same.
When the Tim and Eric level special effect gunshot, you mean? Or
Yes.
It actually really is Tim and Eric level.
My favorite moment of the movie is when he tells the one funny joke in the movie, and everyone goes, "Oh, you can't say that.
You can't.
Oh, you can't joke about that." And I was like, "That was a pretty good joke." I don't know.
And then you'll be happy to hear, Stuart,
Yep.
that the himself spends 3 minutes scolding the audience for the fact that you can't make jokes about anything anymore.
Man.
You can't do it.
Speaking truth to power.
I mean, you can push boundaries, but sometimes you might miss.
Sometimes you might miss.
Yeah.
And then you end up on Mad TV.
Guys,
It's an episode on the Manchurian Candidate.
can you tell me, as we were just talking about success, I looked this up. You can all tell me the most financially successful Jonathan Demme movie ever made, right?
Silence of the Lambs.
Correct. Right?
Mhm.
What's number 2?
Philadelphia.
That's also true. What's number 3?
Manchurian Candidate.
Well, he just did it all himself. There you go.
Pretty crazy.
This is
though.
his third most successful film.
And not a huge hit.
No.
But here's a weird thing to think about.
Uh-huh.
A big summer release.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
What, July 30th? Yeah, he got
like
that like Nolan slot,
Big
basically.
studio summer blockbuster.
Well, you had Denzel,
Streep.
you got Streep, you got Schreiber,
Mm-hmm.
you got
Jude Chickachella.
you got Farmiga, young Farmiga.
Yeah, young
Farmiga.
Farmiga, young Falcon, young Anthony Mackie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got young Bill Irwin in one with 2 lines, I think.
Very young. Very
Duncan
look.
Kane from
baby
Veronica
face.
Mars is
Teddy
briefly
Dunn.
visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I looked him up because he jumped out. I went, Teddy Dunn from Veronica Mars.
You're like, is he done already?
Well, Teddy was just getting started. Now he's done. No, but I remember that he left that show like very abruptly in the middle of season 2.
Yeah.
And then never saw him again. And I was like, what happened to that guy? He's a lawyer now. He fights white collar crime.
Oh, so he's actually doing something much
Yeah.
much better. Yeah.
Yeah, he left Veronica Mars and got a law degree and now fights against corruption.
He's
It's the
inspired by
right
Veronica
choice
Mars.
considering how boring he was on Veronica
He was.
Mars.
Duncan, was that his
Duncan.
name?
Duncan, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
This
that's
movie's
like,
got Ted Levine. It's got
Yes.
Miguel Ferrer. It's
Yeah.
got
Got Al
Kristen
Franken.
Shaughnessy, Roma Torrey.
Miguel Ferrer playing a part that never really necessitates a Miguel Ferrer level. Anytime you see Miguel Ferrer, you're like, oh, he's the villain. And the fact that he's just kind of like in it
He has like one scene.
McGill being in it was a transparent box office play because in the same way that Will Smith was still the king of the 4th of July,
Right.
Miguel Ferrer owned July 30th. That was his weekend.
Well, it was his birthright from his father,
yes,
who owned it for decades.
decades. He had squatters' rights on July 30th. Manchurian Candidate. Well, I mean, it feels like this was another thing I was thinking about. 2004.
Sure.
This same summer has Paramount releasing the Stepford Wives remake.
That's right.
They have these two, like, 60s, or is Manchurian Candidate 50s?
Manchurian Candidate is
60s.
62.
Right. So these two...
Stepford Wives is the...
It's 70s.
Is it 70s?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But these two
Should be.
brainwashing films, right?
Well, Stepford Wives isn't brainwashing; it's robo-replacing.
That's the remake.
No, in the old
Is
one
the
too.
original
In the
as
old one
well?
too,
Okay.
Yeah, it's also robos.
Okay.
But it is the same kind of like, hey man, like society is a thin
Fucking
gossamer
weird.
veil.
Oh,
right,
yeah. Mind benders.
Right.
And Scott Rudin produces both of them.
Interesting.
What was going on in his life at the time?
Yeah.
I'm watching a lot of TCM.
Bullshit,
but-
man.
Scott Rudin was in
Calling
his,
up
like,
Demme.
He had just had
Calling up Frank Oz.
we live in a society.
It's pretty weird that Frank Oz made the Stepford Wives remake.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, here's this, like, big comedy director. Here's this big drama director. Both have, like, stacked casts. And it was these films that people were like, I don't know if you should remake them. And Scott Rudin was like, it's time. Society has changed.
Right.
We have to comment.
I mean, to be fair, if I could take us back to 2004, because we've all forgotten it because the last 4 years are now the entirety of human history.
Right.
2004 was a pretty bad time.
Really bad.
And it was the beginning of the endless war era of the United States.
100%.
It was there was still we'll see what happens in the next year to 4 years, but the worst president of the 21st century so far was in the middle of his run.
Okay.
And it was a real bad time, and that's why I think there was this sense of paranoia and people on the edge of their seats, or the edge of their seats, people on the edge that we've kind of forgotten about, and also the edge of their seats if they went to see Stepford Wives or Manchurian.
That's why I
you're
only
right.
paid for that part.
But there was also a naivete because we haven't seen how cracked up society could be, and that's why you get a movie like Manchurian Candidate, at least, where it's like, both sides are pretty gross. You know what? They're all in the pocket of big business, and I'm like, oh,
Right, this
oh,
movie doesn't
America,
know
you were
what's
so
coming,
naive
right.
then.
Yes.
That's true. But you're right. The Bush era, especially post Iraq, it's like that weird Americana thing had come back where
Yes.
it's like,
Right.
we just want to live in a house and have a family.
Right.
Why are you against America?
Yeah.
You don't want a house with a family?
There was,
Like,
there was a lot of talk then about real America, fake America,
Yes,
who's a patriot, who's not a patriot, and so the time was
and
right.
the whole Karl Rove sort of,
Yeah.
anti-gay marriage, all that stuff.
And it was the time was right for Demme to be like, the Manchurian Candidate's
Right.
back.
Like, it felt like one of those things. And, like, both of those movies would get, like, referenced a lot in the news and
Yes,
things. Like,
yeah.
people would, like, relate them to real world occurrences.
They
and
still
then,
do
like,
with Manchurian.
Right. But I'm saying that it felt like
Well,
it
with
was
all the
starting to
brainwashing going on
become,
these days.
Right.
Yeah.
Huge.
Look at those playing cards.
But both these films coming, like,
There's a
sort of...
resurgence of playing cards. It's really-
You want to play solitaire with me? No, get away. Well, why would he say solitaire with me? It's a stupid joke. Forget it.
I was
it sounds like a Mike
disappointed.
Birbiglia one-man show. Play solitaire with me.
I was very disappointed that the Demme version doesn't update it with, like, computer solitaire.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping he was going to
Free
update.
cell.
Right?
I was hoping he was going to update it with like Yu-Gi-Oh or something.
Oh, that'd be
so
that'd
funny.
be great.
Raymond Shaw.
Pokemon trading
Would you,
cards.
would you like to play a
He's-
game
Look
of
at Squirtle.
Digimon?
Denzel Washington Beyblading.
That'd be so funny if he's got to play Digimon, but they only have Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Magic cards. They're like, we don't. Why did you bring all these extra cards?
Trigger him.
He's got to get to Bulbasaur, or else he's not going to kill that guy.
They just replace it with nothing.
Nothing,
Right? They
yeah.
just replace
It's
it
a
with
phone
saying
call.
your name.
They replace it
phone
with saying
call.
your full name, which
Yeah.
seems like the easiest trigger.
I know.
Yeah.
What I mean, I
Well,
have
it's
as
the
a
same
joke.
specific. I mean, you have to say Raymond Shaw,
Sure.
Raymond Prentice Shaw.
Well, but that-
unless the mom of someone is like mad at you, like they don't
exactly.
repeat name like Raymond Shaw, Raymond Prentice Shaw,
Captain Raymond Print. But also, what's weird is though is that the trigger in the old movie is very specific. Would you like to play a game of solitaire? And it does happen accidentally, and that's one of the clues in the movie. Here, it's literally just having your full name said, and there's no accidental triggerings ever. You know,
Right, and concerning
Like, you
a
think
character,
if someone was walking through a restaurant with a message, or the telephone for Raymond Prentice Shaw.
You give it a couple
Huh?
shots,
What?
right? If he's trying to get his order at Starbucks, I mean, here's a guy who's in the public sphere
Constantly, yeah.
Like you're pointing out, didn't have to be the specific order, but also like he's
Also,
being
his
talked
middle
about all the
name is
time.
famous because his
Yeah.
dad or his mom,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah,
know,
right. It's not like he has
he
an
does
obscure
give all
middle
three
name.
names to his barista.
It's
so.
pretty dangerous. Yeah. So I'd never seen the original
That's crazy. by
and
the way.
and watched both today.
Congrats.
Finished the remake 5 minutes before recording started.
Yep.
But was
and
was
you're
cramming
still
both of them in.
shaking. I can
oh,
see.
I'm triggered.
I thought that was sweat beating on your forehead, but I think it's all glitter.
Correct. It is Trolls glitter.
You had a very busy day.
We
God,
did.
it took me so long. I did not Sherlock Holmes those two things together, and
I
now I
watched
feel really
two
bad. The
Manchurian
trolls and the
Candidates.
glitter. I've been sitting here
Yes.
being like, I can't
Wait,
ask
seriously?
Griffin why he has so much glitter on
In his
him.
mustache.
You're like, I know
I
he
got a
went to
glittery
the
mustache.
Trolls experience.
Yes.
Something was said about glitter earlier,
I've
which
shown you
which,
the photos.
which tipped off a conversation
you
about the
know,
Trolls experience.
I feel like after all this time, you should know how dim I am.
That's
now.
true. Now I love you as a detective, where it's like, oh, that's why I did it. I did it all right with this knife, and I did it because he was having an affair with my wife. And you're like, tricky. It seems a game we shall play.
That's if you want to throw Dan off your scent, you put glitter on the weapon and he'll never
That's
solve.
true.
But why is there
But why was Elton John in the room?
What was he doing here? Who invited him? But it was a weird thing because I've heard this film referenced so much in so many different ways.
Right.
And
You
I-
yourself were briefly a sleeper agent for the Manchurian
correct. So
government.
this movie hit a little hard for me. It was a little
Right,
personal.
Yeah.
Remind you all your good times with your buddies at the MK Ultra project. You know?
Yes,
What are they doing
yes,
now?
Yes.
You know?
My life was a little more American
sitting in
Ultra
that
than Manchurian Candidate. It was kind of rad and edgy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the thing of like watching the original this morning, which great fucking movie.
Yeah.
I was like, how
You guys
did they?
keep saying the original. We're talking about Zoolander, right?
I will say that was
boy.
the other thing for me was like when I saw Zoolander when it came out, I was like, what a great fucking premise for a movie. Where
Right.
did they ever come up with this? What an incredible hook. Stolen.
Yeah.
Anyway, watching the original today.
Satirized it.
Sure. The original is so much about the fear of other countries
Yes.
interfering.
This is a classic Cold War paranoia.
I mean,
it is the
it's
classic.
literally about Russia and China
Yes.
interfering with an American election. So
Right.
it's like, if anything, the movie is now more relevant than the remake.
The weird
But
fucking
also,
thing.
also,
It
I
weirdly
looked up,
is. That's right. Even though the remake should be more relevant.
Correct.
Where
Yeah.
you're like, of course, big business. It makes
You're like,
sense.
yeah, companies, they have
Perfect
computers
update.
now, cable TV.
Yeah.
And instead, the one where they use typewriters is more relevant now.
But I
Right,
looked
yeah,
up
what were you gonna say?
brainwashing because I just wanted to confirm my own suspicions that brainwashing as we see it in the movies is complete
It's total bunk.
nonsense. That people do get
I don't know.
Stockholm
If you
syndrome.
say something to someone a lot and they're sitting in a chair.
People people in cults, you you malnourish them and put social pressure on them, and maybe they don't leave. But brainwashing, as we see it in films, obviously is nutso. But looking up the history of brainwashing did come from what they talk about the Manchurian Candidate, fears at the time of the Chinese doing this literal thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting. I was like, oh, that wasn't fanciful. People believed that was a
No,
possibility.
it was the Pizzagate of its time.
Yeah.
And MK Ultra, which you referenced, that's in the 70s. And that's them still being like,
And
is
that
there
is
something going on?
That's a real program.
It is a real
but
program,
but the
right.
fake thing is that it worked. The
Right,
real
right,
thing was
right.
that they tried it.
They're like, oh, yeah, no, this
And
is
they're like,
horseshit,
oh, well,
right.
Sirhan, that was MK Ultra. It's like, no, it wasn't. They couldn't do it. All they did was drive people crazy with LSD and make them mad.
Right.
And one guy, they pushed off a building. That's the. Because when I was a kid, I was hip deep in conspiracies. Loved conspiracies.
They're fun.
Believed in all of them. I made a choice to say the world is more interesting if I believe in all these conspiracies. Loch Ness Monster also. Yes. Bigfoot. Yes. I want to live in that world. But then at a certain age, I was like, oh, people are kind of too dumb to pull this stuff off. And also it doesn't make any sense at all,
Well,
It-
right. They all
yes.
begin to compete with each other as well.
Well,
Yeah.
especially anytime I read any entertainment industry conspiracy about what their plan was with
Right.
the fucking Star Wars movie, their agenda.
They
I'm
wanted it to be bad.
Right.
That was their plan all along.
I'm I want you to spend 5 minutes in any boardroom meeting on any set. They are so fucking disorganized at all times.
that all of human history is people trying desperately to keep up with the work they need to get
Correct.
done.
Correct.
And the idea that there's a council somewhere that's like, yes, and here's the 10-year plan that will lead to
Right.
world domination. Instead, it's just a lot of people being like, what's the easiest thing I could do right now?
Like there are terrible people with terrible motives in the world, but also no one is that fucking organized. No one
Also,
can
it's
get
a-
their
you
shit
know how
together to
many
that
people
degree.
there are making these
so
things.
many.
There are
Yeah,
a
what
lot
do
of
you get?
people.
Jesus.
There are a lot of people.
The answer with Star Wars is this: it was like it was supposed to come out on that day, and it was too soon.
Yeah.
They couldn't finish it.
I don't know. I think they were trying to indoctrinate us.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, they wanted to sabotage J.J. Abrams' career. I mean,
Well,
that
they
was
did,
it.
of course.
Right.
Guys, I read a thing.
Oh,
and
yeah, sure.
I heard a rumor rather.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
It turns out they sold like 100,000% of the shares in Star Wars, and only a huge flop would mean they would get away with keeping all that money.
God.
So it's the producers?
Yes,
Oh
the
my-
producers of Star Wars are the producers.
Oh my God, they planned it. It was their brilliant plan to only make $900 million worldwide.
Shit.
Only then could they make a profit. It is this crazy thing though, where like Manchurian Candidate has this like central sort of like heightened sci-fi hook to it.
Yeah.
But in both movies, the like evil influence is kind of right on the money. Like isn't as organized and as clean and as focused as it's like said to be. But like you're like right, yeah, foreign corruption and
Big business.
big business. Yeah, it's like 100% what we're fighting on.
I feel like if you just gave a guy a bunch of money, he would do what you wanted.
Totally.
Like, you
Right,
don't
that's
need
the
to-
thing is like, right, they don't need to brainwash him. You can money wash
There's
him
an
with
Occam's
$1 billion.
razor.
That was
Right.
that was the comment. I went to see the movie in the theaters when it came out with my friend Brock Mahan. Just gonna name drop Brock
brag.
Mahan.
Oh, wow.
Brag.
That was
So
your name,
you know,
okay.
if anyone's ever heard of him, hopefully they have. He's a great guy. But we went to it and we walked out of the theater and he goes, "So what would they have? A president who's even friendlier to big business?"
Right.
Like again, this is when George W. Bush was in the White House and Dick Cheney was the vice president.
Right.
Like, how is it going to get more friendly to big
That's
business?
a fair point, right?
And
what
also
does
that-
Manchurian
Yeah.
Global really need?
They're
Yeah.
putting a lot of money in to get maybe a marginal improvement in business friendliness.
Well,
in
and also like
president.
the more the Russia trail is like exposed, the more you realize like half these guys were probably just complimented and then they signed up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, "Paul, your jacket looks great," and he's like, "Where do I help, pal? What do you need?
Who should I investigate?
Happy to roll up my sleeves." Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Where's that music coming from? I'll take that whole record off the shelf. Oh my God! Wait a sec. Tom Cruise just slid into the recording studio.
I was just waiting for you to complete all of that visual imagery.
Yes, I did. I slid into the studio. I slid in here like Giffield. I am here. I'm amped. I am ready to do an ad read. David, you have good taste. I read your reviews. I love reviews. I read reviews all the time because I love movies and I love reviews. Let's do this, David. Let's do an ad read.
Let's do it. Working out is hard. Even when it's easy, it's still pretty hard.
Okay, go on.
It's weird that you're not like vibing with me on this. Bombas socks can't change that, but they can make it more comfortable.
Okay, David, I cannot relate to this angle you have on the ad read.
Because you love to work out.
I love working
and you do
out.
it all
I
the
love
time.
it. I'm
You're
positive.
right. I'm sorry that
My
I shouldn't
body's
have
a
even
temple.
tried it.
So here's my angle.
Okay.
These socks are really good for sliding in.
Yeah, okay, that's
my
true.
angle, David. I need something I can relate to.
I'm currently wearing Bombas socks. They're yellow. Rachel's looking at them sort of confused, but they are Bombas's. Nice Bombas boys. Nope, Rachel's not interested.
Look, I don't wanna
and
give
they
you-
are very nice and soft and yes,
Slippery.
yeah, you can slide on them real nice.
I love these socks, David.
They make all kinds of different performance socks. So they've got a lightweight poly cotton blend. They've got a nice merino wool sock. They've got great arch support, so
like
they're
high
very
performance.
supportive. Yes, sure. You like high
I'm a
performance
high performance guy, Dave.
support. You know that annoying toe seam that socks have? They don't have them.
Don't get me started. I hate the seam.
Dunzo, smooth sailing right to the top of the foot. And for every pair you buy, Bombas donates a pair of socks to someone in need.
I love it. I
The
love
number one
donating.
most requested items in homeless shelters.
I
So
love donating. I love helping people.
you can go to bombas.com/check today and get 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/check for 20% off. Bombas.com/check. They are the only socks I wear now. I actually adore them. And
I
it's
do
nice
too.
to meet you too, you weird.
David,
Mhm.
I respect you.
Yeah, I like the point.
I
Double
respect
point.
you, okay?
Yes, all
And
right.
I love you, and I love your reviews, and I love movies.
Thank you.
Blanket.
Thank it.
Great. Thank you. Now let me slide out of here like you feel.
But this movie is set in a sort of like quasi future. It's kind of weird.
It's like the like 4 years in the future.
Right, exactly.
The not
where
too
they're
distant
like,
future.
America's getting a little more, the democracy is beginning to bleed away, maybe, kind of.
It is a lot more sci-fi in the tech too, which the original is very kind of analog. It's all just like crazy mind game shit.
Yeah.
There's that sequence in the original that's unbelievable where you see them all in the meeting where they're being sort of presented to all the
With the
world
flower show?
leaders. Yes.
Yes.
That is like unbelievable, but you don't see a lot of the conversion.
No.
You don't see a lot of operations. There's no brain drilling.
And I think that really, I love the original movie. The original movie has long been one of my favorites. And like it's John Frankenheimer's best movie. Like one of the things I love about it is it's so matter-of-factly made. The suspense scenes are really suspenseful, but all the brainwashing stuff is shot so straight on and kind of like almost unimaginatively. And so it's like, and you don't see the actual mechanics of the brainwashing, so you don't have to be like, would they really put like a chip in a dude's shoulder? Like, how would that help? Like, but is the shoulder connected to the brain? I guess it is a little bit, but then it helps for me to build the weirdness, like the reality of it, that like it's not goofy weird. But here it's like they really get into the sci-fi of it, and his dream sequences are like goofy crazy.
I love them. I love those dream sequences.
You got this like weird Terry Gilliam, like 12 monkeys.
Like suddenly there's
a lady.
There's a Muslim lady with a huge apple or tomato in her hands.
Yeah.
And the drawing style, Jeffrey Wright's drawing style,
And
is
they're
so
watching
insane.
like a rotoscoped cartoon. It's
It's interesting that you say that about the original, though, because I feel like one thing that these two have in common for me is they have like this bizarre tone, and I kind of wonder if that's partly because of the what I said before. Like we all like inherently know that brainwashing of this kind is bunk, but there is like this creepy thing about someone like getting inside your head and messing around with it.
I mean it's
And so they play it like with this weird like off kilter. Both of them have different kinds of off kilter tone.
well, I think the off kilterness of the original is partly because it's a pretty funny movie at times.
Yeah.
Like there's really solid jokes in it.
Yeah.
And in this
and
one, it's
Sinatra's also just like popping in that movie.
He's
so charismatic.
He's so charismatic and also so nuts.
yeah,
Like,
he's really good in that movie.
he's somehow really charismatic while also being clearly about to lose. I forget if I swear.
You can
on
be
this.
so
say
sweary.
Okay,
Say
he is
what-
totally
no.
bad. And I say the worst word ever, and you're like, "Why'd you say that?"
Jesus
like,
Christ!
He is clearly about to lose his shit at every moment.
Yeah.
But he is also super smooth and charismatic. And in this movie, Denzel Washington is instead of being a guy who's about to lose his shit, he's a guy who's lost his shit.
Yes.
Right.
And he is
Yeah.
like feels dangerous. Like watching
Yeah.
the movie, I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to be in the room with the screen. That
And
guy's
it
on.
Yeah.
doesn't help that like a lot of the shots are so like straight on, whether it's him or when they're shooting, when the shot is of Rosie and it looks like it's from his perspective, and it's like you don't know if he's gonna like go and strangle her or
Yeah.
something.
Classic
I think-
Demme down the
thing to,
middle,
like,
yeah.
down the middle.
Down the lens.
Close
I
up.
think Denzel
Yeah.
Washington is like, if anything, a little too good in the movie because I'm like, I buy him too much as a man who is falling apart and getting dangerous.
But
And,
it's a
like,
weird. He's not doing like that opening. I believe the opening shot is him in the Humvee, where he's like, "What I don't want to do is go on the," and you're like, "Oh, it's Denzel. I love Denzel." Right, and then he never does that again.
Yeah.
like
'Cause
you
even-
never see
yeah.
him in classic like Two Guns, Deja Vu.
Once you get to
Denzel
present
mode.
day, I mean, his introduction is him giving that speech to the Boy
Yes,
Scouts, and
right.
even then he's shaken, and that's
Right.
before he starts to feel really.
That's before Jeffrey
paranoid.
Wright comes up and says, "Hey man, what are you doing?"
Right.
And you're like, "Oh God, what happened to Jeff?"
Give him some half glasses to look over.
Has he lost the source code? Jeff, get it back.
Look, I love Jeffrey Wright.
Oh,
Me
he's
too,
so
I
great.
love him.
He's
he is an
fantastic.
actor who gives you a lot.
Yeah.
He is not subtle.
And he's also he's willing to do. And my brother was going on and
Yeah.
on about how much he loved seeing him on Rick and Morty talking about poop.
He's
Just
great
like,
on
or hearing him.
Great on Rick and Morty. And I like that he's kind of creative and he can be kind of theatrical and all of that. But to say to Jeffrey Wright, hey, we got one scene for you and you just need to be the craziest man in the
Yeah,
world
exactly.
is
Like-
a little dangerous.
But but one
good.
scene. Yeah, well, he's doing his thing.
He's doing a lot.
He's doing his thing.
He's emptied the entire paprika bottle onto the
he
sandwich.
Well,
Well,
I do think that, like, for me, this movie's biggest problem, I mean, like, there's certainly nits to pick with it, but its biggest problem is it's merely a good movie when the first one is brilliant.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think Demme, for me, is doing, like, as much as he can with a script that sort of suffers from a lot of 90s-itis, in that, like, Jeffrey Wright, for instance, is, like, a very traditional thriller crazy guy who has
100%.
like an evidence wall and stuff.
Yeah.
and
He has
comes
a
Just
special
walked out of
notebook.
Enemy of the
Twitchy.
State or
Yeah.
whatever, conspiracy
It's
theory.
got a lot of
yeah.
net in it. It's got a lot of the net
Yeah,
in it.
lot of net, lot of
The
net.
screenwriters on
Nothing
this
but
are
net.
pretty standard, like
100%.
studio 90s, 2000s thriller
And
guys.
there's all the whatever. Apparently, the script they kind of were like rewriting on the fly the
That's
whole
the
time.
thing. I mean, it
think.
feels like because the weird thing with this movie is that I forget what studio, maybe MGM released it originally, but
Yeah.
then or United Artists.
It was a UA film, yeah.
Right, but then it came out the same year as the Kennedy assassination, and people got kind of scared off of it.
It came out the year before, I believe. But
The
yeah,
year before-
very,
but
very, very
it came out
close.
the year
to.
before.
And it was,
Yeah.
but it was a combination of the assassination happening right afterward. Back then,
Right.
like movie rollouts were much slower.
Sure.
So the movie could have been playing, and then
That was the thing.
And
that
there
they
was also
kind
a-
of slowed it out of
and there was a
theaters,
rights
yeah.
issue that
Right.
kept it out of the public eye for 20 years.
Well, but
Yeah.
a big key of that is that Sinatra himself at some point bought the rights back.
Yeah.
Hey, give me those rights.
Right, because he resented
can't
the
do
fact that he
Sinatra.
felt like UA didn't do enough with it.
Yeah.
And then in like the 80s, they rescreened it at the New York Film Festival and it kind of got reclaimed and started being played on TV again. And the opening title card of this movie is like it's his daughter. What's his
Yeah,
daughter's
his
name?
daughter produced this movie. Yeah.
But it's like
Tina Sinatra.
It's a Scott Rudin / Tina Sinatra
Yes.
film.
She was the one the whole time who was like, "We need to remake."
Right,
the
she
Manchurian
carried
Candidate
the rights
specifically.
after he
Yeah.
passed, and she was the one who kind of willed this movie into existence.
I was curious
You
about that.
imagine they at some point just hire writers and go make the obvious 90s version of Manchurian Candidate, make
Right.
the thriller, and then when Demme comes on, he's a little bit too sensitive and thoughtful of a filmmaker to ever make that straight a version. But you have like the bones of a very conventional studio version of this movie, which is always going to be unconventional because it's thorny material.
Sure.
Then you cast a guy who's like such a fucking movie star. And when you hear it in your head, you're like, oh, Denzel's going to play the Sinatra part. He's going to make it so cool and so confident.
Sure.
And then you zag in the opposite direction where it's like,
But when this was announced, it was announced I remember, right after Truth About Charlie.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's doing another remake of a beloved
Again?
classic. Like,
Yeah.
why is he doing this?
and this was, I mean, Halcyon Days, but you go, this was that period of time where anytime a studio announced they were remaking a classic movie, you were like, ugh, this again? And if any studio announced that they were making a $60 million remake of a classic film, would be like, finally,
Yeah, great. Sure. Good. God. You're releasing it this summer. I can't believe
all
it.
the
Yeah.
classics,
Oh,
make them
great.
again.
That is true.
But then it would be the classic film shared universe.
The dark classics.
It's like Rick has to leave Casablanca so we can get on the African Queen and go meet the Godfather, you know.
And he's
the
played by
Rabbit
Noah
is uniting them
Centineo.
all. Noah Centineo would play all of them.
Harvey the Rabbit has to assemble them all together
be the
to
secretly-
stop Charles Foster Kane, who
stop
has
him.
got this that like who's got
He's got
like
the
something
Philadelphia
from
story.
he's got
I
some
don't know.
magical thing from Thief of Baghdad.
Yeah,
that is
right.
like-
He has
yeah.
the Maltese Falcon. And,
I
also
mean, this
like
is
the
essentially
idea-
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen at this point.
in this world, you can buy the IP for just classic movies. They'll throw them all in together because we own classics.
The classics.
Hey,
But they all have
CCM shared
powers now.
universe. Let's
So
do
like
it.
That's not a bad idea.
like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life, he has the ability to come back from the dead, and see alternate. He can
talk to
walk,
angels.
He
He's
can
got
talk to
angel
angels and walk
powers,
between
yeah.
alternate universes, and it's
Right.
driven him insane. You have to
Right.
get him out of a sanitarium.
Like, I like the idea though that like every lead character from the movie gets the power, the magical power of the central hook of their movie.
I have a question though. Can we work Fortnite? Like, can this begin or
Well, the
end in
prologue,
Fortnite?
both.
Okay, all right,
It's
great.
bookended on Fortnite.
Good.
What if Fortnite was like our next campaign is Turner Classic Movie?
That would be-
TCM?
Finally, you can have Nanochka kill Gene Kelly and Singing in the Rain. Finally,
Nanochka would be part of
Yeah.
my dark classics.
And then he's got to wait around while his powers get up from cooldown.
We know a guy. He can sing in the rain. Like that's the briefing meeting. They throw down.
there's this. At the end, he would like use his hands to control a tidal wave that washes away the wizard. I don't know.
But also the high note he hits while he's controlling.
oh yeah.
And it's all the rain.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be a good movie.
Yeah.
We got 2 months to pitch this.
Until media disappears.
Yeah, until it's done. But it does feel like this movie is so a product of like the last window of them viewing that as a bankable thing of like the movie, a classic movie, that title sells itself and you put top tier talent on it, you can throw it in the summer. Like this was a movie they had aspirations of having,
Oscar success for
but
sure.
also you don't release it in July unless you think it's going to make
no,
money.
they sullied
yeah.
it. They did it in July.
They did. They did
They
pull a
sully
Sully.
it. They pulled a sully.
Unless it's because there's always the kinds of things where it's like what have you promised to the filmmaker? What have you promised to Denzel
Right.
Washington?
Right.
If Denzel Washington's going to be attached, you know he's going to want it to be a big release and that kind of thing.
Right. Is
So,
that what
So you got
Denzel's
that.
right? He can flip between this is just a thriller released in September and like
Yeah.
this is an Oscar play. And this feels like for Denzel, it's more of a thriller play.
yeah.
But this is also that Meryl period post adaptation where
but-
pre Devil Wears Prada.
Right. That's the big.
But she's trying stuff.
Totally.
You know, like she,
Yeah, she's
she's in
experimenting.
Series of Unfortunate Events,
Yeah.
and she's in like the Altman movie, and I don't know.
Prairie Home, she's really good at.
She is really good in that,
Played
yeah.
the Queen Ant and the Ant Bully, so put that in your pipe and
She's
smoke
not
it.
great in that.
No,
I
she's
have
not
to
good.
say.
No, she phoned that one in.
I have seen that film. That film is weirdly about communism.
Okay. Well, it is an ant movie. It's actually not that
Yeah.
weird to make an ant movie about communism.
You're right.
Ants
It is-
are inherently communist.
Okay, so let me rephrase.
No,
Empoli is-
ants are fascists.
Well, sure. I just mean that they are a commune.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
right.
that's
You're
fair.
right.
That's
You're
fair.
right. But
It is
they
under-
are fascist
It is
communists. I
under the
suppose.
command of one dictator.
Guys,
Yes,
because we're
yes.
talking about ants, how do you get them out of a house? Because I've had some ant problems this year.
Well, if you listen to, I know that James Taylor on The Simpsons talked about creating a vacuum to shove them out of a house.
So I have to shoot into deep space?
But there's also if you wanna just shoot them with a gun, like in that
Okay.
Charlton Heston movie, right?
I think if you watch the movie Mouse
That's
Hunt
right.
too, there are a lot of lateral moves that you can apply.
Yeah,
over
just
the-
shrink everything
them
they
down.
do
I
by
forgot
like
that.
20%.
Shrink and multiply.
In the naked jungle, he tries to shoot at the ants.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Or it's like in the movie Save the Green Planet, where the bad guy unleashes, or not bad guy, it's a questionable who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, unleashes a swarm of bees at the police detective investigating him, and he just is firing into the swarm, and you see one bee fall to the ground. I love that
That's
movie.
so much better than if it had not done anything.
Yeah, no, it's just a shot of
got
one bee
one.
falling. To the
Yeah.
I
ground.
got one. What was I gonna say? Demme.
Manchurian
You were talking about
Candidate,
Manchurian
Demme,
Candidate,
Denzel, Meryl.
Yeah, Meryl's in that zone. We were saying earlier today, Liev Schreiber was in that sort of pocket that like Peter Sarsgaard was in the 2000s as well, where they were like, this guy's gonna be the guy at some point, right?
Yeah, there's something
Yeah.
going on here.
Right.
Cotton Weary.
Yeah.
This led up to
Weary.
this led up
Show
to
some
Ray
respect.
Donovan, right?
Yeah, Ray
that's
Donovan's.
right.
Well, this is leading up to
Him and
his
John Voight.
inexplicably or explicably. I don't know.
I do think this is a Ray
Directing-
Donovan prequel, yes.
He wrote and directed Everything is Illuminated right after that.
Oh,
Which we
right.
all remember, think about, and watch
his
all the
weird
time.
passion project.
Huge
Much
release. Jonathan Safran 4 is just two for two with his amazing adaptations of his books. Just masterpieces.
It's like how Ewan McGregor made an American pastoral movie, like, and everyone's
Right.
just like, no, he didn't.
No, he
That-
didn't.
that
That's
never
like,
happened.
and James Franco continues to pump out Faulkner movies
Of
at an
course.
amazing clip that
He's
they're
got
never
a dark
seen by
Faulkner
anyone.
universe. Right.
Well, I mean, Faulkner did have one county. All his characters
Yeah,
were in.
it's true. It's true.
If you ask people on the street, like, how many movies do you think James Franco has directed? They'd be like, I've heard of one, so I'm guessing 3.
Right.
And you'd have to tell them he's made 6 Faulkner films alone.
He's made like 18
Today.
movies.
Yes,
like,
he's made like 18 films, and 6 of them are Faulkner.
He's like
adaptations.
Norman Mailer, where you're like, oh yeah, Norman Mailer made a movie, right? Oh no, he has a larger filmography
Yes.
than Ryan Johnson. Okay,
So fucking strange.
Remember when Liev Schreiber was Sabretooth?
yeah,
And
Heck yeah.
he was just had big sideburns.
he was the more sensitive Sabretooth.
Yeah.
That's a good performance.
It's not a good performance.
I think it's a good
because the
performance. I think the
movie
movie's
is
a disaster.
Terrible.
One of the
But
worst.
it's at least he has an idea. I say I'll give him that.
It's possible for a good performance to be in a bad
It
movie.
certainly is.
Exhibit J.
Mr.
Yeah.
No, it's certainly possible. I don't think it gets to good performance because he doesn't do fucking anything in
But
that
that's
movie.
why it's such a good performance.
Exactly.
He's playing against type for Sabretooth, who's supposed to be a wild man.
Yeah. I think it's a good performance. I think you have a previous professional wrestler playing the part who only growls.
Who
right?
only growls and looks like a cat.
Swipe stuff.
And instead they're like, forget the cat, forget the growling.
Right.
You're kind of like a Broadway dramaturg, kind of drama queen kind of guy, and you got long nails and sideburns.
Well, and it's the Liev thing of just like it's incredibly quiet aggression. Like
Yeah.
he never pops.
He's not an
always
aggressive
just
Sabretooth. He's a
kind of
passive-aggressive
simmering,
Sabretooth.
I don't like Wolverine.
But literally,
You
he
can imagine-
just had sideburns.
You can imagine Sabretooth, Victor Creel
Yes.
he's been invited to a party, and they're like, yeah, and Wolverine's going to be there, and he's like, oh,
This was the look.
It's terrifying.
This was the look. I mean, it's tough to see.
He looks like he jumped out from behind a bush and going,
I'm still haunted by the way he runs in that, where he's clearly
sort of-
floating above the ground.
Right, and he's just sort of doing this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's a 4-legged.
yes, it's a four-legged.
But yes, you are right. He plays it as if he just dislikes Wolverine.
I wonder
just
if,
not a
like
fan.
in early rehearsals he tried to keep being bigger and bigger, and that just made Hugh Jackman get bigger and bigger and more theatrical.
And Hugh
They're
Jackman, when he gets bigger, he has to sing.
yeah.
It's just like that movie is like his ultimate nemesis is Sabretooth,
Yes.
and it's a guy in a trench coat who's grumpy.
But everything in that movie is like that.
That movie is so weird.
That movie is so
I want to
weird.
do the Wolverine
That's also-
saga.
Yeah.
Is
on
that
our
and that is the
podcast.
that is the movie where you take the merc with a mouth and you have him not have a mouth,
He
right?
has no mouth.
Right.
He is ostensibly the final boss, and he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Wolverine loses his memory because he gets hit on the head real hard.
I believe he gets shot with a bullet.
coconut?
Yeah.
He gets shot with a bullet because he has an adamantium skull.
Right.
It doesn't kill him, but he's
Right.
just like, oh, what?
It's a memory wiping bullet.
It's a memory. It is one of those damn memory bullets.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention just so I don't forget. For a dark guy, he certainly wears a lot of yellow. So he's got that yellow ruff and that orange stuff.
fur.
In
Yeah,
many ways, he's a very
dramatic.
bright and colorful fellow.
He is a flamboyant guy, and
There's a
I want
scene
to
of
play
him
up that.
like brushing out his sideburns in front of a mirror.
That's
Yeah.
another thing. He was very well groomed because, like, in
In the movie or
well,
in
in the
general?
first Singer movie, he's kind of gnarly and feral. But then when you see Sabretooth in the comics, you're always like, he feels very well arranged. Everything's very well
Well,
trimmed.
that was in the fortnight they did before it. He goes on
That's
Queer
the
Eye, and
explanation.
they really
Right.
jazz him up.
I liked his old like bodysuit with the
Yeah.
furry ruffs.
Yeah.
Slashes on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
he
was cool.
almost looks like a football mascot or whatever.
Yeah.
He could be.
Yeah,
He's
the-
got that weird headgear
the
where like
headband
the
that lifts the
hair
hair.
is
Yes.
sticking out at the
That Cyclops
top.
had for a
right,
while, yeah.
Right.
He's a great costume, great guy.
He's
Love
a
him.
really good guy.
Great guy. We love him. Right. Murderer.
What a terrific
How come he
guy.
doesn't hang out with Birdie anymore? Remember her?
Oh.
Who?
Birdie?
She was the psychic who
McDonald Land?
she had a thing called like the bird from
Do you
McDonald
remember that
Land.
Sabretooth and Birdie dated in the 90s?
Why not? They're both animal people.
It's like when Glenn Close and Woody Harrelson dated, and you're like, I guess.
when it was Frank Langella and Whoopi Goldberg. You're like, okay,
one of the greats.
Yeah, they love each other.
One of the all-time great celebrity
Angela could have
couples.
played Sabretooth.
Now, I have
A young Frank Langella would have been a great
Great
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth.
He was a okay Dracula.
Yes.
Oh, so here's the thing I wanted to say.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
He was a
that-
good Skeletor.
Was how
Great Skeletor.
As good as a Skeletor is going to get, unless it's Willem Dafoe, who would have been the ideal Skeletor.
I mean, if we,
Too big
if
a
we,
penis.
You're right. That tissue should have brought it away.
If we hope and we pray and we cross our fingers, Noah Centineo will fight Willem Dafoe Skeletor yet.
That how ironic it was for me watching the movie now also to see John Voight playing the most liberal senator in
Incredible.
America
I
when he is
know.
now the craziest conservative.
So where is he at this point in his life?
At that
in
point-
2004, is this sort of when he's like made good with Angelina Jolie?
I think
Yes,
he
I
had,
think so.
Well,
Right.
it was like tenuous because
As good as they were going to get.
Because
they
remember,
were-
he plays FDR in
Yes.
Pearl Harbor just a couple years
Right.
earlier, 2001, 3 years earlier.
But in that same year, he plays her father,
Lord
in
Croft
Lord Croft
himself, that's
Tomb
right,
Raider.
yes.
And it felt like a big thing. It was like an olive branch where it's like we're going to be in a movie together. We're trying to mend the relationship.
And he's in Zoolander, of course.
Right,
Yeah.
of
A
course.
great scene in Zoolander.
Yes.
He's in Ali
Uh-huh.
that year. He's kind of popping right now, in fact. He's in National Treasure.
right.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was very available and I think needed money.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, how close is this to when he started Bratz? Is
Oh,
that-
Yeah,
Well,
what about the Bratz movie?
Bratz,
Yeah.
Bratz is definitely 2007.
When did he produce Baby Geniuses and Baby Geniuses 2?
Well, this is all the same. See, I'm very fascinated with this, and I've never quite figured it out. But there's Crystal Sky Productions,
Okay.
which is the Paul family.
Oh, boy.
No relation to Jake and Logan
Crystal
Paul.
Sky Pictures.
I'm sorry,
correct.
but they produce Bratz, the Baby Geniuses,
yes.
that film, The Legend of Simon Conjurer. Do you remember
Oh,
that?
It sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Where it was like John Voight in a fat suit, and it was like a bunch of kids who have to solve a mystery.
Nope, I don't remember that at all. I thought it was something you were talking about something totally different.
All the weird family films that John Voight's in are all through this one production company.
Crystal Sky Pictures.
So
Crystal
Bratz
Sky.
was 3 years after this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they
In
start
which
to
he
really
played
tank him.
Principal Dimly.
Yeah.
You say that like we don't know that.
Did you know that he played a taxi driver in Baby Geniuses and the Mystery of the Crown Jewels?
My point is that
and then he
also,
played Moriarty in Baby Geniuses and the Treasure of Egypt?
My point is,
I just learned that.
if I am not mistaken, he also has producer credits on all of these films because
Yes.
he is not
he is
in the
an
first Baby
executive
Genius.
producer
Definitely
on
on the-
all Baby Geniuses, and he is not in the first
Definitely
one.
the Baby Geniuses ones, because I
Yeah.
believe he was a guest on The Daily Show when I worked there to
Wow.
promote Baby Geniuses.
The first one.
The first
First
one.
one.
Which he
He's
was
not
just
even in.
producing.
Because I remember, I
But
maybe
can
this
you
is.
give me the credit block of Baby Geniuses, the first 5?
I think I can do this. Do you think you can do this?
Nope.
That's
Look, when I turned 38. I said, I got to be realistic about myself.
Right.
I can't pretend to know things I don't.
And I'm 30, so ready? I'm going to come in hot. I believe the first build in Baby Geniuses is Kathleen Turner, correct?
That is correct.
Then Christopher Lloyd
Correct.
is third Peter McNichol.
Third is Kim Cattrall. Fourth is Peter McNichol.
Okay.
Remember,
No,
this
I
is
buy that
Sex and
order.
the City.
I buy that order. Even now, I would buy that order.
I buy it. I
Fifth?
was thinking McNichol off of Ally McBeal, but you're right. Sex and the City
McNichol
was
is
the
never
first
breaking
reason.
number 3. Even Sophie's Choice is not breaking number 3.
Exactly. Right.
Even Dragon
Ghostbusters 2,
Slayer,
he's not breaking number 3. Yeah,
the movie he started.
he's after the
I
dragon.
mean, there's a dragon in it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Can you give me the fifth? It's a legendary Oscar-nominated actress.
It's a legendary Oscar-nominated actress. I want to see. Okay.
Yeah.
That was my test. Elliott laughed really hard at it.
Only
Just-
because
just
not at
didn't
the
know she
not
did
at the
this one.
person, because the person I respect deeply.
Right, that
but
she's
at the
in it.
unlikely that she's in it,
Sure.
and the unlikelihood that this is the name that you're going to come.
Okay, now
unless
when-
you've seen Baby
I
Geniuses.
have.
Okay,
but
so maybe
when
you will.
it came out in theaters 20 plus years ago, 99, right?
No, Baby Geniuses is, let's see. Let's find
First
out.
one,
No, it's
98 or 99?
2006 or something like that, right?
Baby Geniuses.
I think that's Baby
Jesus,
Geniuses
I'm on Leaf
too.
Schreiber. I have Gulf War syndrome
Oh, you
open
got
in my
too many
computer.
tabs.
Oh, God, too many
It's
tabs.
definitely 1999.
Thank you.
All right.
The first
I
Baby
take it
Geniuses
back.
in 1999?
1999, you're right.
Oh, so you know
I'm
what?
sorry.
So I didn't
was
work
pro-
at the Daily Show at the time.
He must
but
have been promoting Baby Geniuses 2 Super Babies.
I don't know. Maybe, but I don't remember him being in the clip. That's the thing. I think I
Interesting.
saw it.
Maybe
He
there
not in
was
the clip.
no usable clip of him in that movie.
That's possible.
You're right.
And he is the villain in 2.
It sounds like he's the villain. I mean, I love the idea that those characters must be brothers or something. Like he's just the villain in every movie, maybe.
Very possibly. There's one bloodline that includes Moriarty.
Moriarty. yes,
And they retconned the
Taxi
first
Driver.
one, so it was part of the John Voight bloodline.
Okay.
Can you guess this one-time Oscar nominee?
And here's my question. Was her one nomination for Baby Geniuses?
No.
Okay, fine. That narrows
But
it
it was
down.
one of those late-in-life nominations that was sort of like a salute to your career.
It is not Lauren Bacall, is it?
No.
This is one where I feel
But
like
am I
you're more
sort
likely
of-
to get it if you name your spouse.
Can I guess someone? Ellen Burstyn?
Another great guess, but no.
Are we sort of in the right zone?
Yeah, I mean, you're naming good old actresses.
Is it Lynn Redgrave?
No.
But one late in life, good actresses.
At the point the Baby Geniuses comes out, she's not an Oscar nominee, and she won't be for like another 6 or 7 years.
Wow, huge. Can you tell me the name of the character?
The name of the character.
I think this is what might crack it for me.
Margot.
So you know she's at a wedding.
Definitely. She has to be.
God, this is
Elise
what
was
people tune into this
invited.
show for.
Yeah.
It's a popular show.
This is like a Houdini show where Houdini would say, "They're locking me up," and then the curtain would go down, and people would stare at the curtain for minute after minute, just imagining what was
Thrilled.
going on behind it.
Thrilled. An
And-
honor to get and sit there and look at a
And
curtain.
you asking me, would I go to that show? You're damn right I would
No
go to that show.
question.
To see-
While you try and guess, I'm going to give you all the taglines from Baby Genius.
Please do. And this is now an episode about Baby Jane.
Think innocent. Think helpless. Think again. That's
Oh.
tagline A.
Pretty sneaky.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then below the title, naps are history. That's right.
which is our not even no matter how genius they are, babies still need naps.
Everyone needs to sleep.
Yeah.
They're very small babies. They can barely, digest food.
Yeah, I mean the babies all they do is eat and sleep, and again the things that happen when you eat, the food comes out. But
All right, I'm calling
This
this.
is an older actress who doesn't get nominated until like 2005, 2006.
2008 is when she gets nominated. 2007.
2007.
Right.
She gets nominated for a 2007 film
Yeah.
at the awards in 2008.
A 2007 film starring the star of the Manchurian Candidate. You're
Starring,
going to get it now.
it's a Denzel movie.
Right.
Is it Ruby D?
It's Ruby D.
Ruby
That's
D
right.
is fifth billed.
Fifth build in Baby Geniuses, and I'm sure she got residual checks for the rest of her life.
Yeah. So the
Well, we're
Manchurian
done, right?
Candidate.
Thanks
yeah.
for coming,
yeah.
guys.
Crack the
and-
case.
Yeah.
I do want to ask. I am a listener.
They're
but-
just super
appreciate
smart
it.
babies.
But I do.
Dan.
I
Yeah, it's all in the title.
but I'm also.
Nap time's over.
I'm also catching up with the old episodes.
Sure.
Okay.
So on new episodes, do you usually talk this little about the movie?
It-
Often, yes.
Depends. It depends.
Dan's wondering if we're ruining.
I
the
don't
podcast.
mind it.
No,
Oh,
I
you're
don't
not
think
ruining
so.
the podcast.
I don't
I
mind.
don't
I'm
think
just
so.
yeah. I want to see whether we're coming in like
we
the
actually
Marx Brothers.
did talk a lot about the Manchurian Candidate just then.
Uh-huh.
We did some go in the Baby Geniuses talk. recently? No, we did get some talk. In a certain way, it's a weirdly hard movie to talk about. I think he has, as we were sort of saying, forefronted a lot of the thriller elements.
Right.
The thing that's kind of fascinating about this movie is comparing all the changes it makes. it definitely has that remake thing where like they view the original film as like, okay, what can we clean up on the second draft?
Sure.
So there are things like, because in the first one it is the Angela Lansbury mother character
Yes.
does not appear in the film very much. That reveal happens very late.
I suppose that's true. Sure.
She-
It's an iconic
You don't-
Oscar-nominated performance.
You don't
Yes.
know that she's great in it, but you
Phenomenal.
don't know that she is part of the spoiler alert. I guess.
Yeah.
You don't know that she's part of the plot
Yes.
Right.
until very close to the ending.
Having watched it this morning, it's a lot of just like, oh my God, what a like an overbearing sort of like career.
I suppose Meryl
managing.
reveals herself to be fully invested, like what, an hour and 20 minutes in, or
But
something
also
like
just
that.
the film centers her
She
a
is-
lot.
and also
more.
she's more outwardly villainous throughout.
She's Meryl
right.
Streep. She's second billed.
Yeah.
I mean, like in the original, it's Sinatra,
Lawrence Harvey, yeah.
Lawrence
yeah.
Harvey, Janet Leigh, and then it's also starring.
You know that it's
Angela
like
Lansbury.
they've got a
Yeah.
case of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, where I'm like, I think the mole is the other big name actor in the movie.
right.
I don't think it's going to be
it's like
Toby
Law and
Jones.
Order type.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is, I think, also that problem too, where like the Angela Lansbury performance becomes so iconic, and she's another reference point as like, oh, like a Manchurian mother.
Right.
You know, that they just know, like, no one's going to get duped by this.
Well, I think it's in Roger Ebert's review at the time where he talks about like they have wisely decided the audience knows what the movie is about.
Yeah.
So why are we going to extend this mystery? I think they were not wise because it's like even a movie like Jacob's Ladder, which is crazy, they ease you into it a little bit.
Sure.
Whereas this, it's like right off the bat, you're like, bah, 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 crazy. Everyone's
It's
crazy,
bananas
crazy.
pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
And one of the changes they made that baffled me at the time and I still don't get is there's
to
some,
open the film with Wycliffe Jean covering "Fortunate Son."
yeah, I mean that I had
The most
forgotten about.
Jonathan
That's a
Demme
real Demme
opening.
pick.
I was
Yeah.
like, this is whatever's on my nose. It's this, you know, like this, whatever it's on, it's my nose. But that in the original movie, about halfway through the movie or so, you learn about this romance that
Yes.
that Raymond Shaw had. That his mother broke apart. It was the daughter of this senator who's the enemy of his stepdad.
Mhm.
And what's the name of the actor? Gregory, who's the stepfather in the old one. He's so great, and
I'm
he's
forgetting.
in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and he was on Barney Miller for years. But
James Gregory is his name. James Gregory.
James
Yes.
Gregory.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He's General Ursus in Beneath the
Oh,
Planet.
such a fucking good performance.
Yeah, and you learn about this thing, and then they reconnect, and they fall in love, and they elope, and then he's triggered to just along the way while he's killing somebody
Yeah.
else. They say wipe out all witnesses, and he has to kill her. And it's when he realizes it later, it's shocking because this is someone he was in love with. In this movie, right off the bat, he's like, I think about you still, and she's like, it's over, I've moved on.
Get the
I'm like,
fuck away
literally
from
like
me.
you're a creepy stalker and I don't want to be near you.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, so I know he's gonna kill them later because that's the plot, but like
Right.
it seems weird that now he doesn't have to feel that. It's like he doesn't
I mean, he
feel that
still
bad
has
about
to
it.
Feel bad.
No. She deserves no sympathy.
No. He's
Stuart, she deserves no sympathy.
but it's like it maybe now I sound like a monster, but it does.
I
It
know what
lowers
you're
the
saying.
stakes on that moment quite a bit.
He is less of a person in this movie.
Because
Yeah.
he's really kind of a co-lead in the original. It
Yes.
goes
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forth
Although
between them a
Harvey
lot.
is kind of sort of glassy in that movie.
Harvey as an actor is kind of a cold actor.
Yes,
so
he
it
is.
works
He
really
is.
well for that
He's
movie.
got that
It
very
does, it
clenched, sort of steely,
Right.
erudite kind of thing.
He's a guy who always seems like he's got to repress everything.
right.
And in this one, Liev Schreiber, he gets some of that, I guess. But then it's like, I don't believe him as a presidential candidate.
Especially not when some guy's just biting stuff out of his shoulder.
I mean, that's a wild moment.
Yeah.
And he's like, Jesus, get out of here. Like, that's his reaction. Where security's like, whoa, are you okay? And he's like, go away.
When they're like,
"You gotta sit down.
He's not going to press charges. I'm like, I don't know if that's the
It
kind of
doesn't
thing that
work
you have to do.
way.
Yeah.
No, I
Like,
I
what?
don't buy
Like, you've never seen a vice presidential shoulder bite attack before? Come on. Ding dong.
Hey.
Let me just get the door quickly. God, I mean, we just had Tom Cruise in here. It's like we got to lower expectations. It's not like we're going to get another A-list movie star in here,
Who
right?
we got?
Well, let me open the door. I'm just saying it's probably going to be some ridiculous character and not another A-list movie star.
Open the door.
Craig.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
It's me, A-list movie star Gerard Butler.
I it's nice to see you, the Phantom of the Opera himself.
Who isn't excited to see Gerard Butler?
I honestly am kind of thrilled to see you. I gotta be honest.
That's the thing. You think you don't like my movies,
but
and then I show up in a trailer.
You got a good energy.
You realize
you're fun.
It's part of the ecosystem. You need my films.
He's that's what he's doing.
I'm in character right now, so it's kind of like a Scottish-American hybrid. That's what the Gerard Butler thing is.
What
are
you here to talk about, Gerard?
I'm here to do a little ad read for one of my most beloved films, Playing for Keeps. You remember that one?
Yeah, I do. I mean, vaguely. I remember seeing
I'm
a poster
like a
for it.
Lothario, and
You're right.
I coach weekend soccer for children or something like that. I've never seen it, but I had heard, because I'm BCC'd on all the Audio Boom internal sales emails, that you folks were doing an ad read for Playing for Keeps.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct? Is your sponsor today Playing for Keeps?
No, it's not. It's a different service. It is called Keeps.
Oh, so you're Playing for Keeps. You're
right.
not ad reading Playing for Keeps.
Okay. Well, let me just tell you, the 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35.
Not Gerard.
Sure, that's great for you. But the good news is, with today's advancements in science, Keeps offers proven treatments that can combat the symptoms of hair loss and help you keep the hair you have half the cost of your local pharmacy. Okay?
I'm surprisingly old, and I've kept all of my hair.
You got a great head of
But
hair.
most people
And
aren't
if you
lucky.
want to have a Gerard Butler-esque mane, you don't have to go broke to do it. Keeps has generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. Some of them you might have tried before, but probably never for this price. Plus, Keeps now offers a prescription shampoo to help keep your scalp healthy, too. You want a healthy scalp, Gerard?
You need one.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Playing for Keeps.
These treatments really work. They're up to 90% effective at reducing and stopping further hair loss. And the sooner you start using it, the more hair you'll save. So act fast. Many men even experience hair regrowth with Keeps.
well, look at that.
So it's very, very simple. It's got more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. Nearly 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. Starts at just $10 a month.
Oh, I was going to guess how much it costs.
Plus,
Do you know what I was going to guess?
what?
$300 a month.
Well, you know what? It's only $10 a month.
But you
And-
understand the joke.
No,
It's another classic film from the Gerard Butler Library.
I don't remember.
300.
Oh, sure. Of
Remember
course.
that?
Yeah.
People love me.
Yeah, this is Sparta. Plus, for a limited time, you can get your first month free. Okay?
Okay.
Listen up. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/check to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's KEEPS.com/check. Keeps.com/check. You can get your first month of treatment for free, and then it starts at just $10.
Play for them. Play for Keeps.
Here's the thing I'll say. I don't fully buy him as a presidential candidate, but this was the era of John Edwards. That kind
Sure.
of like
Yeah, that's true.
America, especially the Democrats, were sort of like, we just need an action figure guy.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it'll do it? Like, we'll beat Bush by just finding the blandest, most like broadly. He should stand in an amber field
Right.
of grain, right? Like that. And Schreiber's doing that. He's doing that weird, glassy action figure
But
thing.
he also does have that weird underlying anger. You know, it's like
Yeah, he's hulky.
in the same way that you
Like a
watch.
Sabretooth.
He's got a kind of
he's more like Sabretooth in this movie.
Sabretooth kind of, and his nails are very long.
And he does
There's a
get from
scene
one
where he's filing them.
he gets from one place to another by kind of hovering on all fours and pawing at the air.
Lancing,
Yeah,
but
like-
he's got a wire.
It's like when you see a very small dog walking around and its feet are barely touching.
Wait, that's not how anything works.
Yeah. It's kind of like floating over the air.
Like the legs are too short to reach the ground.
it's like a little puppet type thing, and it's like
It's like when like Yogi smells a picnic basket and
Yes.
his nose sort of pricks up and then his whole body
the
just sort of
xylophone
follows.
plays.
it's
Yeah.
like a Monterey Jack situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, glad thank you for updating it for today's youth.
Yes, the Great Monterey Jack. We all know the Great Monterey
The
Jack.
great Monterey Jack, like
A
he
war
passed
hero.
away recently.
A war hero. No, but it is an interesting thing that like
He's named that because his jacket's made out of Monterey cheese.
No, he's from Monterey.
Oh.
His name is John Mouston, and he's from Monterey.
they call him Monterey Jack. There is that big like structural difference where in the original film where you're kind of jumping back and forth between Sinatra and Harvey. You're not seeing Lansbury much at all.
Sure.
And until the end, she just feels like she's like part of the sort of window dressing of the world that they're building. Although, a colorful performance, but doesn't feel like she's part of this larger plot. But the Sinatra character also is not like seemingly going mad in the same way. As much as he
because
has
he's Sinatra.
a nervy energy,
He's
Sinatra
nervy,
always keeps
right.
it cool and is not part of the plot that everyone's like, this guy might be losing his fucking
That's the
mind.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Washington has that energy of like if you walked into a grocery store, someone would be like, "Get out of
Right.
here! What are you doing? You can no."
There was
That's
a-
one thing I enjoyed about the movie. I don't think it's necessarily a better choice. It's just a different choice. But I did kind of like that this movie got across to me like this particular horror of knowing that someone has messed with your brain.
Yeah.
And,
I
and the
think his-
paranoia. I mean,
Yeah.
I like any movie that's about someone who's right
Right.
getting increasingly manic to a degree where no
But
one will
everyone's just
believe
like,
them.
well, you're
I don't
just
like
paranoid,
that because I've been living it for
Well,
so
that's,
long.
I think,
Yeah.
what I like about it. That I feel represented where I see a movie where someone is 100%
Hey,
correct.
stop biting my shoulder.
There's a chip in there. Also, you're delicious, and even the glitter
And
helps.
I like that. I like that scene where he first digs the chip out of his own shoulder, and then she startles him, and he drops it, and he's like fumbling with an open knife.
Yeah,
in
and
his
trying to
sink,
get
and
it
I'm
out
like,
of the
and
whoa,
she
like,
doesn't seem
You all
to-
right, bro? And he's like, yeah.
and it's revealed she's an agent, but she doesn't seem to notice that he's got a bloody wound on his shoulder or anything.
No.
And
I thought it was
I was telling my wife, I'm like, oh no, that's simple. He just needs to open the P trap. He'll fish it out.
I thought that was like such a nice mix of like funny and horrible too, because it is like it could be a sitcom moment like. Blah, blah,
I mean,
blah,
it's
blah,
up there
but, like,
in some ways with my favorite moment in Minority Report when he drops his eyeball,
Yeah.
or drops the eyeball he brought with him, I guess, and it's like, and it's bouncing along the ground.
It's always good to throw some hijinks into your paranoid thriller.
But I think with Denzel Washington's performance, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
It's like it works so well. But what doesn't work is the other characters don't react to him the way you would react to a crazy.
He's
That-
maybe
yes.
like 10% too
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
looking.
And
Right.
that is the weird shift, is like Sinatra is just kind of driving the plot as like the guy who's figuring the whole thing out. And when he presents his theories to people, they're like, that's crazy, go take a vacation. But no one's like, he's not being chased in the same sort of way. He's not like,
Not only that, he like shambles up to John Voight, and John Voight's like, "You make a lot of good points. I should probably just take this right to Shaw."
He's like, well, you have a crazy man's violent notebook with a lot of crazy drawings. You have and I shouldn't say crazy about someone, but you have a printout of a scientist's face from the internet, and you have something that you found on an article about that same scientist.
This is lining up.
This is compelling evidence.
It is the era when you could just look on something on the internet and people are like, "Oh, this was on the internet? Well, I mean, trusted
you
resource
printed
for
it?
information." Right. Yeah,
you
exactly.
used printer ink on this? Pretty
I would-
serious.
I do
You
want-
did go on the information superhighway. So.
This is a post-Gulf War movie rather than a post-Korea War,
Yes.
and Gulf War syndrome, like it's feeding into the Gulf War
Yes.
syndrome thing, which was sort of like, why do these guys all got like inexplicable diseases and mental illnesses post-Gulf War that no one could really explain, and it felt so conspiratorial.
The thing that that America seems to have to learn after every war is that war fucks people up really
Yeah,
badly.
it's real rough on folks.
It's like,
yeah.
hold on, how come when you went over and you killed all those human beings
And
then
also
you
we-
got hurt, you're not totally okay now?
Right.
You're not
Lived
totally cool.
in constant fear that one or both of those things would happen at any moment.
So
Yeah.
that's he keeps going up. He's like, I'm having weird dreams, man, and everyone's like,
Yeah,
I know,
know.
Ben,
Yeah.
it's all right.
Yeah, you're on
it's
the other
tough.
side now.
Yeah.
We all know the war
Right.
fucks people up, and they pumped you full of all sorts of weird shit.
But then the other change they're making in terms of Eleanor Prentice Shaw is that in 1962 the idea of a female senator who would
Right.
run the show was obviously that's not a thing. But now they can play in that. They can give her a Hillary
Yes.
haircut, but
There's also
then
the
she
other.
says like I based it on Peggy Noonan or whatever. Like they can
She
play.
totally did not base on Peggy Noonan. Though.
No.
'Cause she's based on Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
100%.
that's the person she based it on. That one
Because
right
Peggy
there.
Noonan talks like this. She goes, I found it fascinating that when he talked about voters.
She has like Hillary teeth in this.
Yes,
It took
yeah.
me a while to realize
Yes.
she's wearing fake teeth. She
Oh, like
clearly.
flappers.
But then the other thing is that the original, it is Angela Lansbury's new husband,
Yes.
who is the stepfather, is the vice presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And the Manchurian candidate, so to speak, is who they have trained to take the shot.
Yes.
And this flips it where then like the Denzel character is the one who's trained to take the shot on the son who is also the candidate. which simplifies
It simplifies
things.
it. Right.
It does.
It's weird when he shoots them though, because he shoots Liev Schreiber in the back, right?
With a memory
While
bullet.
he's hugging,
While he's hugging
with the
it,
memory
while
bullet,
he's
of course.
hugging his mom.
Yeah.
But when they fall down, he's bloody on his tummy, and she's bloody on her chest.
Well, it went straight through.
Yeah, downward angle.
Yeah, wait, but
Well,
Down and to the right.
wait,
well,
because it would have to bounce.
Baby.
rubber bullet?
Yep.
I think
Let's
he
check
might,
the film. I don't know whether anyone filmed it, but let's go back to the
he
tape.
might be a wanted.
Yeah.
That's
That's
how
the
you-
secret
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
There is that scene where he takes a bath and, heals all his wounds.
Right.
And then he
we
goes
see
to his loom.
You see that
So
big
cool.
tiger tattoo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
He's got the future loom. You can see everything that's going to happen.
They ha-
Scrimshaw's bullets.
It makes it even weirder though that they send him to go kill Senator Jordan
Mhm.
because in the old movie they're turning Raymond Shaw into a brainwashed assassin and she is horrified and that's
Yeah.
why she's like, we're going to become president and then we're going to destroy them for
Right.
what they did to you, and she gives him that big ol' smooch on the mouth.
Yeah.
But then in this one. And the Manchurian global people are like, we invested a lot of money in this. Why did you send him to go kill some people?
Right.
And I'm like, that's a good point, movie.
But right, there's that direct flip where in the original it is Angela Lansbury is like, I'm down with the cause. I did not realize you were going to be the one who became the brainwashed assassin. And in this, they were like, Meryl, we thought you were down with the cause. And she's like, I am. That's why I chose my son against your best wishes. I mean, all those changes are, I think, to what Dan said, if you're going to remake a movie, and especially a movie that fundamentally works, why not do the thought experiment of, what if it's this instead of this?
Yeah,
Why
of
not
course.
approach it from a different angle? Aside from the fact that you're like making it about big money influences and all these other things.
And
it is-
creepy doctors.
Right, it's worth the test of what if it is more of a man losing his mind, What if you're changing their roles within the thing, the levels of complicity, all these sorts of things.
It certainly works better than the other favorite movie of mine remade by Denzel Washington, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Where they they also make a lot of changes to see what'll happen, and it's like those changes do not particularly pan out.
They don't. I mean, the original is a masterpiece,
Well,
and
I
the
love
remake
the movie
is
so much.
very
But
silly.
they kept the last shot, right?
Yeah, with Denzel Washington going,
That is another shabby Washington remake, though. I forgot about that.
There
But
was
he's
a-
also shabby in that
Glasses.
movie. Yeah.
Like, he's shabby, but then he keeps calling back to his. Is it that one or Inside Man? Where he's calling back to his wife. No,
Inside
it's
Man's
Inside
Inside
Man.
Man.
It's
Yeah.
Inside
It's
Man,
on-
where his wife's job
Yeah.
is to lie around in underwear and call him and say like, "When you coming home, baby?" Like
Right.
that's I forgot. That's an Inside Man.
Right, he gives her the ring at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Inside Man's a
Oh,
great
good
movie.
movie.
That's
so-
a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I want to watch it again
It's
right now.
Basically, the new Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, much more than the remake of Pelham 1,
Yeah,
2,
no,
3 is.
exactly right.
Right,
Because
it
it
has
is a
that-
movie
that
about New York
undercurrent,
at that
right.
moment
Yeah.
when the movie was made.
Yes.
But Pelham 123 is one of those movies where it's like, why fuck with it? It is so tightly constructed.
I
there's-
kind of like the Tony Scott. Pelham
Really?
123.
Even the
I
part
think
where
there's stuff
they're supposed
going
to show
on.
that a train is out of control, so they should put it in slow motion. And you're like,
Tony
oh, looks like
Scott
this is
putting
easy.
something in slow motion.
I'm not saying it's weird for Tony Scott. I'm saying it's weird for that moment of storytelling.
It's not a good movie. There's stuff going on like there isn't many a Tony Scott movie.
There was-
The original is so near and dear to my heart that like it's not like I prefer the remake.
my point is less.
But it's got that weird kind of Tony Scott hates rich people so much, and all his movies end up being about that.
Yeah.
and like it's like the sort of shabby civil servant defeating the Wall Street guy. John Travolta's
Yeah.
an evil Wall Street.
I mean,
guy, and
it's one of those.
Gandolfini is like a weird Bloomberg type who's like kind
Yeah.
of grumpy
Gandolfini's the
the whole
mayor
time.
in that?
Yeah, it's
He's
crazy.
the mayor, and he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And the movie does. I mean, time has caught up with the movie because at the time I was like, how are they going to get a Wi-Fi signal on the subway?
Yeah.
And
Right,
now you
right.
can do that. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that movie is a little bit more prophetic than
Do
I
you
thought.
think? Do you think that movie is why they spent $120 million installing Wi-Fi at every station, letting everything else about
Tony Scott
DMCA
did
go
it
to
himself.
rot?
Yeah.
It's why they said they were like, criminals could hijack a train, get a police officer at every turnstile in the city.
Yeah, right.
Cuomo was like, I had to. I saw Pelham 123. I didn't have a choice.
It was on TNT.
I would
It's
believe it.
watchable.
We all know that Cuomo is devoted to installing the prettiest staircases that he can find at a few select stations.
Such beautiful. Can we talk? I mean, as a bunch of
let's do it.
people who have ridden the rails before.
Hobos, yeah.
Some of these staircases at these subway stations, I have a hard time resisting giving them a smooch. They're so beautiful. They're so pretty that I'm overcome with romance. I want to pop the question.
Oh, sure.
Weirdly, the ones that aren't so pretty, I just want to cuddle them up. Just
Right.
gather my arms.
They're
and be like, let me give you a bowl
lovable.
of
They're
soup.
underdogs.
I
Yeah.
see you for who you really are inside. You got good bones.
But Manchurian Candidate, yeah, Dan, you made a good point.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You know
did a
what?
good
I've
one,
been
dude.
waiting years for you to say that, Elliot, and now we can wrap up this podcasting thing.
You did good, Dan. You did good. Yeah.
Well, yes. No, it is that thing where like the structure of something like Pelham 123 is so strong. The basic ideas are so strong, and it's so primarily like a thriller.
Yeah.
That's like, it's not that you can't remake it, but don't fuck with the story too much because the thing works for a reason.
Right.
But Manchurian, you can flip a bunch of the details. There are a bunch of different realities that make sense in the weeds of it, which I think they explore all well. And the films, as someone who watched the two of them almost back to back with a little amuse-bouche of Trolls the Experience in between,
Yeah.
is that they serve as interesting counterpoints. I mean, they're kind of like in dialogue with each other.
Yes.
They don't really negate each other.
It's just, you almost want, I mean, Demme's too good a director to really, well, Truth About Charlie is close to a fiasco, but you almost figure, oh, well, this should just be a fiasco.
It should.
Right, because it's not a masterpiece,
It is not.
but it is pretty watchable. It's got some sequences that sort of pop.
And it is.
Schreiber's kind of good. Like, you know, there's like performances you can sort of root for.
I would argue it's
but
one
it's
of,
kind of like a 7 out of
It's
10.
kind of a 7, but and not that it needs to be graded on the scale. I'd argue it's one of the better remakes of a movie this good.
I agree.
In terms of how much it doesn't embarrass the original, how much it sort of stands on its own while like exploring new things, but
that's
respecting
a
what
low
worked.
bar, obviously.
Low bar. Almost always movies like this are like, why the fuck did they even touch it?
Yeah. I mean,
I think it adds things to the conversation.
I don't know if I would go that far, but it's certainly not one of the worst remakes. I mean, you're saying
Yes.
it came out the same year as Stepford Wives, right?
Right.
Correct.
And that is a much
Exactly.
worse.
No, exactly.
Right,
exactly.
and
It's
you think about this after
competent
Truth
to
About
good.
Charlie, like you
Yeah.
think of the landscape it's coming out with, and the All the King's Men remake.
Oh,
You know,
geez,
I'm
that's
thinking
right.
like 2000s.
That's like with Sean
That was
Penn,
the same
right?
year
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Right.
Or maybe the year after.
I think it got bumped.
Yeah, good call. Get out of there.
But like
I
2000s
mean, I'm gonna-
remakes of
I'm
like
gonna make people
canonical
mad.
films.
I don't
Oh,
even like the old All the King's Men with Broderick Crawford that much, but
yeah, I think that's a good call.
But you look at like
an outdated movie.
we
Yeah.
know what's possible with remakes because
Yeah.
we've seen The Thing,
Yes.
and we know it's possible to take. In that case, they took a good movie and they
Right.
made an amazing movie out of
Yeah.
it. But like, you want it. It makes me wish that they had pushed Manchurian Candidate even farther into that weird direction.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it almost watching it today. I was like, this could be something they could continue remaking every 30 years.
Manchurian? Sure.
Yeah, there's something sort of so elemental about it. There's a reason why the basic concept still has all this potency whenever we're talking about whatever political landscape we're in.
Sure.
It always fucking comes up. There are always
And it
scary
is a
forces.
phrase for a political candidate who is being governed by some outside interests. Like
Right.
it's just become the byword for that.
Right.
Right. Manchurian candidate.
Manchurian Candidate.
about this movie.
I insist.
It's the fact that they decided to do the assassination of the presidential candidate at the
At the convention.
at the convention.
Very
Or
I'm
no,
like,
at the victory party,
Yes.
the night of the
at the
election.
victory party, the
That's what
part
it
that
is.
has the most security and is most likely to be an inside job if that happens. Like they couldn't wait like a week.
But Rachel, you of all people should understand that they have the guy working the soundboard on their side. And if the soundboard is with you, you can get away with anything.
And they are able
course.
to repaint the security footage at the end to have
That-
a different
that's
awesome.
kind of an incredible.
So seamless. I wish Photoshop was that good.
Yeah. Well, it's so in the original one. Oh, they have this whole plan. She says, Angela Lansbury is explaining it to Lawrence Harvey. It's a great scene when she's just explaining it. She goes, "You're gonna," when he says, "My country before my life," you will take the shot, and then your stepfather, cradling the bloody head of this man, will give the most amazing speech. She's like, "I've read it. It's the most amazing speech. They've been working on it over there for 5 years. And it will electrify this country and sweep us into the White House with powers never before dreamed," and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, they kind of walk you through why it's going to be this big moment where suddenly
It's a piece of political theater.
yeah, piece of political theater, and
right.
seemingly off the top of his head, he's going to deliver this amazing speech that.
Like a Mark Anthony style,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Friends, Romans, countrymen.
But here they're just like, "We're going to take him out, and then you're the dude." Like
Right.
that's how it works.
Right,
So,
because
like,
you're vice president,
Just
they
waiting
get to
for
be
the moment.
president.
so you're right.
They'll
with
check with the referee sitting at the sidelines.
yeah. There's a referee who goes, "I'll allow it." There's
Make
nothing in the
sure
rule
he
book that
doesn't
says-
dance with you, though, because then you might
Can't
get
do
a
it.
double bullet shot.
But don't twirl.
no twirling.
No twirling.
But there's also a. I mean, it's also in the original movie. they make a big point of breaking Lawrence Harvey's programming.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, they just kind of decide not to be brainwashed anymore.
Yeah,
They're like,
the
"It's time for
implication
the-"
is the Farmiga thing just
Yeah.
kind of flips him,
I
right?
guess it's
But
time
that's-
for the brainwash
and
to flip the
and
script on the brainwashers.
Well, the shoulder bite.
Yeah.
it's a
And the
pivotal
shoulder bite. Oh, they take the
right.
chips out.
It's like
Yeah.
like
Right,
Beautiful Mind. He just stops being.
I did.
Oh, boy,
I
yeah.
didn't realize too that like it it makes more sense in the original version what you're saying that like okay they need to put this sleeper agent in the White House like they're not sure they can do it so they need something that's going to elect him like to sweep him into office.
Yeah.
Like if they already have some of the power like even if it's the vice president it seems like why do they have to like involve an assassination?
It's the
in
thing
this?
that makes no sense.
Well, and it
he
also-
literally gets elected president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got the vice president as a candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's very young.
Why can't
wait
you
a
just
couple years.
wait?
Wait a couple terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be
He's-
fine.
Yeah.
And he's amazing looking. He's Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly,
Sabretooth.
get
Yeah.
one of those chip things, put it in the president someday. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know.
To
See
be
what
honest,
that does.
and I'm sure Demme had some ideas about this, I want to see the campaign. They ran an amazing
They
campaign.
did, you know what? They
because
did
they
a great
won
job.
fair and
They
You
were.
square.
see, you see
over.
the electoral map. It looks like
Yeah.
they've gotten quadrants of every part of the country.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they,
the only
they're
place-
healing the nation.
The only place that they were up was the opponent's home state of Kentucky, I
That's
think
right.
they said. But other,
But you start pretty much with Meryl working the room to get her son the nod
on the
Yes.
ticket, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And then the movie doesn't really pay attention to their campaign at all until election night.
No, then it becomes more just shabby Denzel,
Right.
shoulder biting, Farmiga, Kimberly Elise kind of
Elise
coming
has a
in
lot
and out.
more to do than Janet Leigh did in the original.
Yes.
She's got more of like a job to do.
That's the
Yes.
thing.
And it feels like
Janet
they
Leigh's
are,
in it a lot, but mostly just as a love interest.
they are
Yeah.
kind of addressing the Reddit fan complaints, I guess,
Yes.
about Janet Leigh's main scene of Manchurian Candidate, which is one of the craziest conversations.
The train scene?
Yes,
Is
in the
it
history of movies.
bananas?
And I love it. It makes
Yeah.
no sense that she's like, they're on a train together. He's struggling to light a cigarette and it falls in his drink. And he's just like, oh, I can't handle it. And goes outside for a breath of air. And she is so aroused by this that she walks out and she's like, I was one of the original Chinese workers that worked on this railroad. And you're like, what? And the conversation gets weirder from there.
She changes her name 4 times within the span of the conversation. Like, you can't tell if someone's, like, brainwashing him or deprogramming him or activating him.
Because I'm Eugenia Rose, but I hate Eugenia. Anyone call you Rosie? Not if they want to be my friend. They don't. Like
By the way, my name's Terry. Like, everything is like...
and so that was like for a long time. It would be like, oh, is she just like cycling through trigger phrases?
Yeah, right.
But I like the idea that she's just like. She's just this pixie dream girl picks him up on a train. It's like because from that point on, she has no plot purpose. She's
Right.
just there to help him
Yes, she's
rebuild
just
as
a
a human
sidekick,
being.
romantic
It is
sidekick.
better to have her be a federal agent. It makes sense that she's spending this much time
The
around this
only
really
problem
off-putting
is
guy.
that the FBI is like, we're on this kid. We think something's up with the whole Manchurian global.
Yeah.
Maybe they're controlling the presidential race. We're looking into it. Do you know? Like, they're like close but no cigar.
And
to
we
this
got our
guy.
best man on it. He's a shambling, crazy person.
And like it's not only that like they're on it, like once it's done, they're like happy to frame them because they don't have quite enough evidence.
Yeah,
I
right.
guess.
They're like, let's just push it over the line.
Yeah.
You cut
Yeah.
to Manchurian Global in their like room of evil.
Yeah.
And it's like Dean Stockwell
And-
and,
and
Jude
also-
Chico-Lella, and they're
Yeah.
just like, fuck, we almost had it.
And
God damn it.
I do
They're
really
manipulating evidence to help a double murder
Yes.
committing man
Yes.
to just live on his life.
I do love how he's suspicious that she is part of the conspiracy against him. And then he's not only validated that she's part of a conspiracy, but like, and even like one he didn't even consider.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I like that because
There's
there's
a
something
deep
kind of
state.
Philip K. Dick about it.
Yeah.
It's also funny that their strategy seems to be both in like trailing Denzel and their ultimate casing of the victory party is like something's definitely going on. We're gonna let it play out and then we'll arrest the people.
Right.
I mean, actually, you can't arrest someone for a crime they haven't committed.
totally. But they're never close enough to being able to stop it from
Yeah, that's
happening.
true.
She sees Liev nod at the rafters, and from that she's like, I get it. He's letting Denzel kill him. Yeah, no, I put
It's
this
cool,
together.
guys.
Yeah.
She just yells, "It's cool."
It's
He's
cool.
in on
I
it.
figured it out.
Can I say something that I do like though?
Please.
I really do like the scene where he kills with the scene where they're all sitting, down in the hypnosis tent and
Yeah.
they kill each other.
Yeah.
It's
Is
super scary.
Truly unsettling. And also Pablo Schreiber is Liev Schreiber's half brother.
Which is really weird
Which
that
is
they
really weird.
cast them in the same
They
movie.
cast him in the same movie.
But to the point of like what's so unnerving in the original film is that everything is presented so matter of factly. so many of the killings happen so methodically and without any sort of like razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle.
The hotel.
But this is post Chicago's Oscar win, so you had to razzle dazzle.
You did. That's true.
Yeah.
They told us that.
Gotta give him the razzle dazzle,
I mean,
dazzle.
you don't want to end up being a Mr. Cellophane. They'll hardly know you're there.
Right, exactly. And that's what happened to Miguel Ferrer.
Sure, they'll never even know you were there.
No, yeah, they're disobeying the 10 Commandments of movies at the time. 1, park the car. 2, I know a whoopee spot. 3, gin cold. 4, music hot.
Yes.
Piano hot.
Piano hot. Sorry.
Bruno
Look, I know it's just a noisy hall with his nightly crawl.
Bruno Gunn's
I
in
can't
this.
remember
Is this
every
like
word.
Hot off a downfall?
It's, I think, the same year as
Yeah.
Downfall,
Oh,
except
wow.
in this, he's just like, I'm a crazy
Oh,
scientist. I've never seen anything like
What
this.
I love is that they introduced Bruno Ganz with no
Yes.
general
yeah,
explanation.
it's just like he has a
the
friend
cue.
who's a scientist.
He's
Yeah,
the
right.
cue to
right.
Denzel
to the
Washington.
crazy man. Like
Yeah.
it's not like he's a special agent. That he's just there, and it's also like I was like, all I know at first is that he's a guy who knows a lot about brains, and he has some like chimps in cages.
Yeah.
Does he work
Yeah.
at the zoo? Like I couldn't figure it out.
Maybe.
Well, then, like his fourth scene, he explains like, "You saved me. You got me out of a bad spot. You gave me my citizenship, so I owe you." But it's also like Sinatra early on in the original is going like, "I think there's some weird brainwashing thing," and they're like, "We don't believe you, but keep on showing up to the office every day at 9 a.m." And in this movie, they're like, "Fucking dismissed. Go take your pills, you loony."
Yeah, right.
So Bruno Ganz has to function as like the guy that he's sharing his
Yeah,
theories with.
He's the Watson to his.
Yeah, he's like,
his
he is.
shaky Sherlock.
believe you.
Yes, right. And he's investing. He's looking at the tracers.
Never seen anything like all
Right.
that.
I'm trying to think of other differences that are interesting to compare. I mean, you were talking about the senator's daughter.
Yeah.
Which in the original, it's
Josie.
also the senator is from a rival party.
Yes,
Yeah,
in
they
the
don't-
original, Angela, his family is essentially they never say the names. His family is essentially conservative,
Right.
and the opposite is and Senator Jordan is liberal. He's
Right.
like, I once won a libel case against your mother. I think what angered her more was I donated it all to an organization called the American Civil Liberties Union.
Right, right.
And that's not a good impression of John MacGyver. If you want to hear a good impression of John MacGyver, listen to any episode of Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, since he does it every episode.
But it is one of those things where like the original is so much about like the Red Scare.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the candidate who is the stepfather instead of the brainwashed son is running on like a McCarthy-esque, like we're gonna find all the commies where they're hiding
That's
and
one of
call
the
the names.
one of the good jokes in it is when he's like, babe, you got to give me a number of communists. Like you keep changing the numbers, and he's putting ketchup on his burger, and she goes, and then it cuts him going, there's 57 communists, and it's like, come on, guys, that's a silly joke.
He
But-
needs a specific target.
yeah, but there's I think that was a change they made deliberately too. It was
Totally.
like let's show that in the old one, the irony is that it's the conservatives who should be the Cold Warriors are
Right.
the ones who are in bed with the communists.
Yeah.
In this one, we're going to make it that the Democrats, who should be anti-corporate, are in bed with this evil corporation.
Right.
And it's like,
Because they'll do anything to win an election.
Yeah, and again-
right.
in those halcyon, naive days of the Iraq War,
Yep.
when before we knew that, like, oh no, like one side is genuinely like a lot worse, like in what it does in everything. It was like they were just doing that stuff.
Everyone had voted for, not everyone, but
Yeah.
obviously.
I mean,
both
this
parties,
is a movie that votes for Ralph Nader, which I'm not crazy about.
Demi might have voted for Ralph Nader.
I
You don't know.
almost guarantee
And
that
in
Demme voted
2000,
for Ralph Nader.
Certainly in 2000. I don't think
Yeah.
he's voted. I mean, he didn't vote for Ralph Nader in 2012. That would be crazy.
Well,
No, he definitely did.
Um,
He voted for Bernie.
but it is that thing where like when the Angela Lansbury
You got the fundraising email too?
when the Angela Lansbury character is like complaining about the idea of her son marrying the senator's
Yeah.
daughter, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
he's gonna turn my son into a commie. Like that's the big fear.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in this, the rival senator is the other guy who almost got the vice presidential nomination, who is ostensibly part of the same ideology as them.
Well, I guess
in terms of
a
party
real,
lines.
there's a real
Yeah.
difference in that it's like the left wing of the Democratic Party and the centrist, like
Right.
neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party, which like is a real difference. But
Totally.
it's not such a big difference that it would be like, don't ever date his daughter. Like,
Right.
That's
I mean, I don't think anyone would have voted for him if they saw him kayak. I mean,
Well, no.
that is the
stay
most
above water, guys.
Terrible form. Terrible form.
the most real thing to me is that even the ultra liberal member has a country house and goes kayaking as an old man.
At 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I love, as you said, though, that in the original, you spend a lot more time with him and the daughter. Like, it's about an hour in that he explains, I think, to Sinatra, like, I had this one love that got away from me.
Right.
They flash back. You spend like 6 or 7 minutes
Here
in
it's
flashback.
just like, do you remember when you were mean to her at a party, Mom? And she's like, well, I don't think I was that mean anyway.
He reconnects with her. They get married. They have a little honeymoon. Like
because they've discarded all the solitaire stuff.
Yeah.
Which I get, no pun intended.
I love the
discarded.
solitaire.
But I love the solitaire and that
Can't
she
believe you said that.
when they reconnect, she's wearing
guy's
she's
not
wearing the
afraid of
Queen of
anything.
Diamonds costume,
Which is lovely.
and it's another one that's like kind of a joke and kind of not.
Yeah.
And that his mom is looking for him, and she sees that costume, and there's just like, oh no, like what happened?
But as much as the Lawrence Harvey character is unlikable, he's giving an icy performance. Everyone talks about how he's an unlikable guy. You spend enough time with him that you can view him as a somewhat tragic figure.
Yeah.
Whereas even though Liev is playing at moments the fighting, those moments where he sort of confides in Denzel.
Yeah, like there's an animal inside him.
Right. Like there's a saber tooth that's trying to get out. There are nails that he wishes could grow.
Yeah.
The guy is a little bit hard to really wrap your head around as a human being.
Yes. But that's how people feel about politicians these days.
I agree.
Where they're
That's
like,
true. I mean, it's a good
like
about.
it's that thing where Obama's like, here are the movies I saw this year. He releases a list of 15 movies, and people are like, he's never seen a movie or had a feeling. This is made up. This is some corporate list created by, it's like he probably watches fucking movies. It's not that crazy.
I mean, he has a
Movies like Last Man
He
Standing.
makes movies. He's a fucking development
deal with
guy.
Netflix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he has an
watches
Earwolf
the Souvenir.
podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's not crazy, guys.
And although it is true that the more you read about presidents, the more you realize that all of them are weird dudes.
It's fucking weird.
But
Why
they're
would
all-
anyone do that for a living?
Yeah, it's a strange job to assume you should want or get.
Yeah.
And so you read about them, you're like, how did any of these people get elected president? They're all like
They're
such
all insane.
damaged individuals.
Right.
Except, of course, for Obama, who we'll find out, after his passing, which I hope is not for many years, some crazy thing about him.
David,
Yes.
it's time for another ad read.
I was so worried. Yes, it is.
No, because look, 2 A-list movie stars came in here and they disrupted the flow of the podcast.
Right.
And we don't have room for that anymore. We got to just do a normal ad read now between the two of us. Ding dong.
Go ahead and get the door.
I assume this is going to be some weird cartoony.
Yeah, it's not going to be another movie star.
What
Right.
movie
It'll be
star?
Dan Candyman. He's like resurrected from the dead or whatever.
Because we just have to do an ad read for Mack
It'll
Weldon,
be
our great
Rhombus.
sponsor today.
You're right.
Right, Mack Weldon sponsoring
We love Mack
us.
Weldon.
We love them.
I wear Mack Weldon all the time.
They're
It's
one of
great.
the original, one of our
They
oldest
are. They're our oldest
sponsors.
sponsor, and I go back to that well all the time.
I love them. I wear the product regularly. I reorder it on my own dime. So let's just open this door and see who this silly cartoon character is and get their bit over with as quickly as possible because it's not going to be another A-list movie star, okay?
Yeah.
Craig?
Yes.
Hey, is this the Audioboom studio?
Yeah. And who are you, sir?
Macaulay Culkin. You can call me Mac.
I mean, you were just on the cover of Esquire magazine, I believe, right?
Sort of doing a little comeback. Yeah.
Yes, rebranding yourself as Mac Culkin.
Mac is back.
So are you here to talk about Mack Weldon?
No, actually, I'm the guest on Snooki's podcast. Is this...
All right, get out of here.
You and I are just going to do this ad read.
Yes. Mack Weldon, okay?
Their mission is simple.
Yes.
They want to make all of your basics and beyond smartly designed. And shopping with them is going to be easy and convenient.
Right. Then, the founders of Mack Weldon wanted more out of their basics and questioned how something so essential could be such a pain in the ass to buy.
Well, to be fair, it says A asterisk.
That's true, it does. The frustration was real. Their eureka moment happened in a department store full of brands that dominated the top drawer.
Mm-hmm.
Surrounded by a mind-numbing assortment of underwear and socks, they realized consistent fit and quality was a game of roulette.
Oh, and a game you never win.
No, Mack Weldon is actually better than whatever you're wearing right now. It's a premium men's essentials brand that believes in smart design and premium fabrics, okay?
Yes.
They make the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants, and more that you will ever wear.
They got a line of silver
those
underwear.
silvers,
Now,
they're
this is
good.
where the money is really cooking. That term, when the money is cooking.
Uh-huh.
You're in the money kitchen now with silver underwear because these things are naturally antimicrobial, which means they eliminate odor. And they also look good.
I own much Mack Weldon.
Mm-hmm.
It's overflowing in my chest of drawers,
Mm-hmm.
and I love this stuff. You go to the website, very easy to navigate. Very nice assortment of styles and fits. I get a lot of shirts there.
You look good.
I'm a big fan of their polo shirt.
You smell good.
Yeah, you smell better. It's true. But yeah, like good sort of like work, smart casual wear for me. A lot of my work uniform essentially is Mack Weldon.
Hey, I'm sorry to bother again. This is audio.
Yeah, you just have to wait. It's just we'll be done soon, okay, Mac?
Because it feels like you guys have been going for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I agree, Mac.
Are the episodes usually this long?
They're very long.
Oh, okay. Well, more power to you.
Okay, so listen up. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CHECK.
Not Mac. Don't enter promo code Mac.
No, it's just 20% off your first order. MackWeldon.com, promo code CHECK. That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. It's very simple.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great company.
It's much easier than getting on the cover of a magazine. I do like the thing that's nice about the solitaire trigger is like as opposed to it just being a phone call and then it's immediate snap. There's this amazing fucking third act scene where Sinatra figures it out.
Yeah,
he puts together the Queen of Hearts thing and then he buys a trick magician's deck. That's all Queen of Hearts.
Of course. Which
And
are
he has-
readily available, of course.
Right,
in
he
every
has
street
Lawrence
corner.
Harvey
I
play
mean,
it
to be
over
fair,
and
in the
over and over
1960s, there were a
again.
lot more magic novelty shops.
You're right. And also, it was like, what else am I going to do today except buy a magician's
Of
novelty
the 52
card
cards,
set?
the Queen of Hearts is obviously the one that would be, in a novelty deck.
I just assumed the store back then, magic and novelty tricks were such huge business that they had 52 different decks you could choose from, each with your own favorite card.
Like
as the
a
one
board
card.
license plate is what you're saying.
Like a what?
A board license plate.
Oh yeah, like a board. I thought you said a porn license plate.
Yeah, porn license plate.
It reminded me of, if I could talk about something completely unrelated to this, my flight here from Los Angeles. Of course,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Holly Weird is a strange place. The guy who wore to the airport and on the plane his Pornhub Christmas sweater,
Wow.
which said Pornhub in big letters and had the design of snowmen with penises and whips and
On the
chains.
sweater.
I've seen it.
Right on there.
It's on Instagram.
Seeing this guy on the line for the bathroom, and as my wife described, watching this woman who clearly did not approve, standing behind him waiting on line for the bathroom, just being like, oh.
I'm looking.
And I was like, that is a bold move to
And
wear your
Elliott-
pornographic sweater.
Elliot, just a quick question. Why did you feel the need to describe a sweater that you yourself are currently wearing?
Look, because again, it's radio.
Okay, it's for the listener.
Ho, 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 but it's spelled differently.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's not that explicit because again, you have to be able to wear it at the airport.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. And you have to wear it.
I mean,
And,
the
like
statement-
knitting is not usually a detail thing either.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's like when I got super into anime, I started buying all over print button down shirts with samurais on them.
yes.
If I were to say change that interest to one of pornography, maybe I'd like to show that off by purchasing a Christmas sweater, a novelty Christmas sweater that has like crudely drawn figures with wieners.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's
Yeah.
snowmen, they have
I
carrot
mean,
wieners.
you neglected to say. I mean, perhaps.
I mean,
this
I didn't-
Perhaps this goes without saying, Elliot. You neglected to say that the penis is a carrot.
Yes, that's I neglect to say.
That changes everything, actually.
What I couldn't get over was the debate in my head. Is that something he purchased, or does he work at Pornhub?
Right.
And that's what they gave out this year as the holiday gift.
Can I throw out a third option?
Yes, please.
He's like a journalist who got it as a free gift at the end of the year. He's like on the mailing list.
I see, yeah. That was so because he's a voter for the Sweaty
He's
Awards.
a voter for the sweaties.
So he gets a lot of
they're called?
sweaters in the mail.
What do you think the sweater awards would be called, my friend?
And
Yeah.
he was getting out of his Uber at the airport, and his coat got stuck in the door, and it got ripped off, and he got super scared because he was super cold. So he reached into his swag bag that he got from the Sweaty Awards,
He got it.
pulled out the first sweaty
I
he found.
assume
That's
I'm
what
just-
I call a sweater.
I assume I'll just pull out the sweater from Noggin, the
Right.
children's entertainment channel.
Because he had also he had squeezed a lemon slice into his tea and squirted it in his eyes. He
Yeah.
couldn't see.
Yeah, and the
he
sun was so bright.
blindly putting on the first sweater in the sunlight.
that low winter sun in LA. It was just
Yes.
like, it was blinding
Yeah.
him too.
I'm glad we solved this mystery.
I'm so glad we solved this mystery.
I will also say the guy looked like a total creep.
Oh, good. Yeah, then never mind.
Cool.
He just
You're
looked like a
kidding
total
me.
creepy
Wow.
perv. Yeah.
Maybe he was just a fucking creep.
Yeah, his face is covered in trolls glitter.
He still had the remnants of green paint under his nose.
Is there anything else we want to say about Jonathan Demme's film, The Manchurian Candidate, before we play the box office game?
Well, what I wanted to say, what
Yes.
I like about the solitaire scene, the Queen of Hearts scene, if I could just speed around 2
You're
jokes.
talking about the Frankenheimer movie, though.
I'm going to
All
use
right,
this
all
as a
right,
point
all
of contrast.
All right, fine.
First of all, I just want to say, before Giuliani got rid of all the magic shops in New York City, I like to think, because we were talking about this, that it wasn't just that you could get any deck with 52 of the same card, but that it was like the M&M store where they were sort of on tap, and you could mix and match, customize
Yeah, why not
your
have
own
a deck with 7 jacks?
Exactly.
And 10 tens.
Right. If it was a good store before Giuliani got rid of it, you could probably make your own deck. Okay, that was important. I had to get that
like
out.
assembling a magic deck.
Yes.
Yeah, a magic trick deck.
Yeah, all right.
There's the
Yeah,
scene.
you gotta have a lot of mana.
This.
Now I want to see the party magician who uses magic cards. That'd be amazing. Is this the prodigal sorcerer you were looking for?
That unquestionably exists,
It
right?
has to be, right?
There have to be magicians who use collectible card games.
God, that sounds so
I
depressing.
assume they hit the Comic-Con circuit, the same way that there are bands that do like
Yes.
Comic-Con circuits.
And burlesque that's themed around magic cards.
Yes. Do you think there's a comedy and magic club that instead of being the comedy and magic club is for comedy and magic the gathering?
Did you have anything you
I
wanted to say
did.
about the
And
Manchurian
this is
Candidate?
what I wanted to say.
Uh-huh.
You have this scene where Sinatra figures out the thing with the deck.
Yeah.
And has Lawrence Harvey play solitaire, and every card he plays down is a Queen of Hearts, and he just gets triggered again and again and again.
right.
So he's able to have this very transparent conversation with him and deprogram him. And it's such an exciting scene. I understand what the way they've set up the movie because they want,
No, he has to bite his shoulder instead.
and they want Denzel to be the shooter.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
rearranged the plot.
They
so,
want
yeah,
Liev,
yeah.
but it gets to this sort of core tension of the movie and also gives such a good acting showcase for playing the sort of weird programming and deprogramming, which I don't think this film ever totally gets at.
No, but this...
I don't think you have that sort of activation, deactivation thing, which in this movie, when it happens, it's a much bigger swing, right? He sort of goes in and out of Terminator mode.
And he does the Demme close-up to sort of indicate that it's happening. You know,
Which
he
for
goes
this
right in
movie,
on his
it makes
face.
sense because this is a movie that's about like looking someone in the eye and trying to figure out if they're on the
but
level.
Also, like the novel is the most explicit about the mother's incestuous relationship with her son, and this they're kind of doing that.
She kisses him on the lips.
And
No,
she
but the
does run her
novel is
hands-
very explicit.
The novel is
Yes,
much more
yes,
so.
much more
Okay.
explicit. And in this, they have them embracing.
Yeah.
They're trying to sort of like bring that full circle with the kind of.
And don't they show that
very-
he's been deprogrammed
they're,
because
you
all
know,
his
doing
hair
each other
fell
right,
out
right.
at the end?
Going.
Possibly.
Like, do you think that there was a shot originally where they went up to Liev Schreiber's dead body and all his hair had fallen out, and they're like, "Oh, his brain's back to normal now"?
Right. It kind of does feel like maybe that's the implication, but then also maybe put a couple bandages on him, throw a scar on the back.
Yeah,
I
sure,
don't know.
right.
But I do miss that kind of thing that also is like in the scenes where you're seeing them in the sort of flower shop hotel hallucination and they're clicking in and out of murdering people. There's something about it being presented so plainly and having the actors just sell how casually what they're doing shifts that I think this movie cranks it up to a degree where even though the plot points are different, so you can't replicate the exact same scenes, I miss that kind of pure actor showcased oscillation between the programming and normal mode. I don't know.
It feels like there's not a lot of different tones in
Yes.
this one. And it means you're at 10 in terms of like on edge. You're at 10 the whole time, but it doesn't have a lot of places to go. So by the end, you're like, oh, okay. I
Yeah.
guess they're flipping the script. I don't know. This
Yeah.
is as opposed to I highly recommend in the BFI Film Classic series, Grail Marcus writes one about the Old Manchurian Candidate, which is a different movie. It's called The Old Manchurian Candidate. But
It's like Old Man Logan, you know.
He
talks
Right.
about-
He's old now.
yeah. I don't want to be brainwashed anymore. All right, one last adventure.
One last brainwashing.
He describes the movie. I think the way he describes it is like it's a movie that instead of pulling the rug, it pulls the rug out from under you, and you realize there's no floor,
Right.
and there never has been a floor.
Yeah.
And this movie doesn't. I think because it doesn't draw you in the same way, because it's always at that level of heightened tension.
Yeah.
That it's not as shocking or not as surprising.
And
Yeah,
this
and
movie is-
Manchurian Global is also
Right.
such a big. Simon McBurney, who we didn't actually really mention, is great.
pretty
He
awesome.
himself is very
Yes.
creepy and unsettling
Yeah.
and interesting. Just anytime he's on screen, but Manchurian Global is extremely not interesting,
And also,
not threatening.
And it's also strange in that Manchurian Global is constantly in the news, which it makes sense. There's like
Sure,
this is the
right,
biggest
right,
company in the world, I guess. But they're like Manchurian Global is creating a private army to invade other countries so that America doesn't have to. And you're like, that seems like they're really saying the quiet part loud on this one. Like,
yes, they are.
Like it seems like they're already getting everything they want, and they're doing a lot of shady stuff just out in front. So
I think to your point though about like you know this movie not being able to rug pull, this movie also works the Manchurian Candidate into as much of a happy ending as it could possibly have.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because Liev essentially offers himself up as
Yes.
tribute,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Goes, I should be taken off the board.
Right.
Gets his mother knocked out in the process,
Yep.
which exposes the Manchurian
Mobile,
Industries,
yep,
right?
yep.
And then Denzel is magically photoshopped so that he's
Right.
not guilty anymore, and he ends up on the beach.
It's a Demme
with
happy
Kimberly
ending,
Elise.
baby.
It ends
Yeah.
with him paying homage to the men in his unit, whereas the old one ends with Frank Sinatra seeing Lawrence Harvey kill himself.
Right.
And then
after killing his stepfather.
after killing his stepfather
Yeah.
and his mother.
Yes.
And then Frank Sinatra crying in the rain, like giving
Roy
to
Batty.
yeah, like yeah, he's
Yeah,
just like,
tears in the
I've
rain.
seen,
It's true.
I've seen things you wouldn't believe. My friend killing his mom.
But it is a very bleak ending
It's
where
a
you're
super
just
bleak.
like, what the fuck happens now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did feel. I mean, it is a happier ending for sure, but I did feel watching Denzel's performance at the end like this is a guy who will maybe never be normal again.
Oh, no,
yeah,
he won't.
he's
That's
gonna
sure.
maybe get to holding like a full-time job. Is
Yeah.
gonna be his ceiling, right? He'll
That is why I think it's weird though that Demme chose to end the film with "Can't Stop the Feeling" from the Trolls movie.
I
and then
liked that.
Branch and Queen Poppy come out and dance.
It's very peppy.
It is. It is also kind of crazy though that Trolls doesn't acknowledge that Manchurian Candidate beat them to the punch by like 13
Well,
years.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
in Trolls, the Manchurian Global does play a big role. In Trolls. Right. Dean Stockwell's in it, right? He shows back up.
I mean,
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
he's voicing the snake.
yeah, right.
He's the
yes.
only live action character in the Trolls movie.
He's live action,
but they
fully
keep
live action.
just
referring
comes
to
in
him as
chain
Dean
smoke.
Stockwell. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, that's right. It's
And
like
it's. I mean, I appreciated the reference, but it's weird to see a children's movie made
Yes.
now where they're like, "Tell us what it was like to wearing the wig and the boy with green hair."
I know.
And he's like,
Yeah.
"I hated it. I hated it." You
It's
know?
like 15 minutes. It's like an Elvis Mitchell interview.
it's
And
a
the Trolls are just
45-hour movie. I mean,
conducting.
there's a lot of time to fill.
when Poppy goes, Vim Vendors, just talk about
Yeah.
that.
All right, before we play the box office game,
Okay.
this movie did not get Oscar nominations, but Meryl Streep did get pretty much every nomination, but an Oscar nomination.
Golden Globe, BAFTA, didn't get the SAG.
Didn't get the SAG, but
Yeah.
still, can you tell me who beat her for that final slot?
Who
'Cause it
beat her
was-
for that final slot?
Because it was
2004.
Portman,
Natalie Portman.
Blanchett, Laura Linney and Kinsey, Virginia Madsen, and Sideways were like those four were all locked.
Right.
But who knocked Meryl aside to take that Oscar nomination? Tell me.
Am I blanking here? Is it who then wins?
No. Kate Blanchett wins.
Yeah, she went for Elizabeth, right?
Oh, this is the
That's
Aviator.
the Aviator.
This is
Oh,
the
Aviator,
Aviator.
Aviator.
Okay, for some reason I
Oh,
thought
why did she
this
win
was
for
the
the
Notes on
Aviator?
Scandal.
That was nuts.
Isn't that
She didn't
bizarre?
have an
Yeah.
Oscar, and she was playing a famous person, and they were like, "All right, you can have an
Did
Oscar."
they think
That she-
Katharine Hepburn was up that year?
Yeah, they thought this was Katharine Hepburn.
They were like, "It's been so long.
Right.
She's
she
dead."
should get a fifth one. Yeah, right. She died. That was tough for
That-
her.
that she
so,
came back from
it's
the
great
dead
that
to
she's
do
in
this.
this movie.
Do you know what's crazy? I remember seeing The Aviator opening weekend, and the first scene where they meet on the golf course, and she's like, "Oh, there, Howard. Well, look at me golfing." And the first full line she got out, the audience applauded.
Yeah.
And
She's doing the
I
voice.
turned to my mom and I was like, I guess she's winning the Oscar?
Yeah.
Like, people were just going fucking bananas that she vaguely did the impression.
She more than vaguely does that impression.
That she
is
vaguely
doing that impression.
successfully
Sure,
did the
right,
impression.
right.
Yes.
Golly! Remember
so-
she's like that
Yeah.
at one
Yeah.
point?
Okay, so Blanchett wins.
There's that one scene where she's like, "Well, Howard," and he's like, "No, it's Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart."
Oh, fuck.
Oh, damn it!
And Marty kept it in. Weird.
Yeah, because
You gotta
know
see
what?
the process.
Because they told him this movie has to be 2.5 hours long, and he was like, "All right, I guess I'll fill the time."
Jeez, I have to make a long movie. What am I going to do?
It's weird that movie has 20 minutes of outtakes in the end credits.
It's all Jude Law eating peas.
Okay, is the fifth Best Actress nominee from a Best
Supporting
Picture?
actress. Supporting actress.
It's the fifth Best Supporting Actress
No.
nominee from a Best Picture.
No.
And was it kind of an oddball nomination?
Sort of, but it's a good performance, and it is an actress you like.
It's an actress I specifically
You
like.
liked her this year. in
Is
a
it
movie.
Ruby D?
It's not Ruby Dee.
Oh,
I liked her this year, as
a
in
movie.
2019,
Yeah,
2020.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. I liked her this year
This Oscar year.
in a movie. Is it Rebecca Ferguson and Dr. Sleep?
Okay, it's Sophie Okonedo in Hotel Rwanda.
Right.
She was the sort of surprise fifth, and she knocked
Yeah.
Meryl out.
Yeah.
And Meryl usually gets that. She gets the
She usually
August
gets
Osage
it.
County
Yeah.
nomination.
She was
People are like,
essentially
what?
She was
Yeah.
nominated for. Oh no, that wasn't her in it. Never mind. I was thinking somebody else. I was thinking in Primary Colors. That's not her, right?
No, that's Emma Thompson.
That's Emma Thompson.
and
I got
Kathy Bates.
my Hillary
And
Clintons
Kathy
in the
Bates.
movies.
Yes,
mixed up.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
right. But let's play the box office game, guys.
Okay.
We've actually done this one many years ago, Griffin.
Interesting. July 30th, 2004.
July 30th, 2004. Griffin's going to try and you guys are welcome to try and guess the top 5 movies at the box office that week. Manchurian Candidate was number 3,
20?
opening to 20 million.
That's like so crazy that just you could release this in July and they'd be
Yeah.
like, it's definitely going to make 20.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's going to open to 20.
The idea that was number 3 at the box office, a movie like this, it makes me think all the other. I'll walk around in a stupor sometimes, being like, Moonstruck was number 1 at the box office
Yeah,
once upon a
right.
time.
People went to
a
see it.
movie like that will never be number 1 at the box office again, and we're poorer for it. But like,
I remember it being like, oh yeah, 20 is the basement on what that's going to open to. If it breaks out, it will do 40.
Well, the number 1 movie is new, and it did 50.
And was it kind of a surprise?
No.
It was
a
we
big
saw it
deal
coming.
movie, and we've talked about it on this podcast.
We've covered it
We have.
with its very own episode.
Yes. Long time ago. But
Yeah,
not
in a galaxy far, far away. Okay,
No.
so that rules some movies out.
But it was a big Disney movie, opened big, but had a severe drop off.
It's a Disney with a big drop, and the name of the film is Le Village.
It's The Village.
Yes.
M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
Yes.
Opening to 50.
So this is its opening weekend.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah, big opening.
But of course, famously dropped 70% in its second weekend.
Yeah.
People were
Oh,
mad
word
at
of
it.
mouth didn't help it out.
A movie with no stars above the title, and the poster is a picture of a hand holding a list,
Yep.
and it opened to $50 million.
Oh, no, then they released
Yeah.
a second poster of
I
a
mean, they
guy in
thought
a
it-
red hood looking at a village.
Yes.
they thought it was a sequel to Schindler's List. That's why
That's
people
why people
went.
were
Yeah.
thrilled.
Right.
I don't know how that list ended.
They were like, finally, we're gonna find out what happened to Schindler next.
What's at the end of the list? Is there a postscript? Okay, that's number 1 at the box office.
Number 2, big action franchise sequel. It's made $100 million in 2 weeks.
It's not Spider-Man 2.
No.
That is also
This
recently
is the
come out.
best one.
Of this franchise?
Yeah, I think there's 5.
It's got to be a Transformer.
Not a Transformer.
It's 2004.
Was
it's
it the
best
third
of
Die Hard
the
movie?
5.
Not a Die Hard.
It's the best of the 5.
Die Hard 3 is the best one, right?
It's the second in this of 5.
It's the second of 5.
Jurassic Park.
If it was the
Not Jurassic
best
Park.
out of
Do they all have like
Mission
the same
Impossible,
director,
Part
or is
2.
this like a passer in the franchise?
The 3 best were 3 of them were done by one director, and then 2 other directors.
Oh, I know.
What is it?
Is it? Wait, hold on.
Hard
The
to remember
Bourne
all the
Supremacy?
Correct. It's
Oh,
the Bourne
okay.
Supremacy.
Okay.
That's what
That
it is.
is
The car fight. With
Best
Car,
one, right? I mean, I know it's between that and Ultimatum, I think, for your fave.
Well,
right?
as we've covered many times on this podcast, the only Bourne film I've seen is The Bourne Legacy because I thought it was going to be a clean entry.
Yeah,
point.
right. I forgot that you have no opinion on the Bourne movies. For
I had
that
just
insane
missed out,
reason.
and I was like, "This seems like a good. I can enter here. It's going to be a hard refresh."
Finally, a new issue 1
Right.
for the Bourne series.
And instead, like Edward Norton
Foil
spends
cover.
20 minutes showing people cell phone clips of things that happen in the other movies.
Well, it's a great way to catch up.
it is like
kind of.
that In Search of the Pink Panther. Yeah.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Number 4. God, this is a weird weekend. Yeah, a big action sci-fi movie, big star.
I rub it.
Yeah, iRobot.
I had a robot fever that summer. I remember.
yeah.
You did not murder him. You
I
had
did not murder him.
fever.
Yes,
And then number 5, you already mentioned it. The biggest
It's
movie
Spider-Man
of the year.
2.
Yeah.
but it's not.
No, what was the biggest movie?
The
that
highest grossing film of 2004, of course, was Shrek 2,
year? Oh God, Jesus
which
Christ.
at that point in time was the 3rd highest grossing film in history.
well, deserved, obviously.
Star Wars, E.T., Shrek 2. I
You've
believe.
also got Catwoman.
Oh, great.
You got Harold and Kumar going to White Castle.
They went.
You got a Cinderella story. Is that Duff? Is that a Duff?
That's a duff.
Yeah. You got Anchorman.
Uh-huh.
You know. And you got Fahrenheit 9/11, which has made $110 million at the box office.
It is kind of funny that Manchurian Candidate was probably like, we're going to be the movie that taps into all this weird political
And
rage.
instead, like, yeah, George Bush isn't so great. And people are like, I cannot wait to see this fucking movie.
They were like, I don't care that you don't give your employees health insurance, and we'll never do so.
Do you know
He
what's,
said it.
Do you know what's such an alien concept? That movie
Like
became...
if you could buy things with memories.
What if time was our
We should be
currency?
writing this down.
when I think about how well that movie did, right?
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Fahrenheit
It was called
9/11.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
The key to that movie doing well was people were so angry about it, they were like, I gotta go see it for myself.
Sure.
Like the idea of protesting it and being like, I'm not giving him my dollars was, I just remember like it was selling out in fucking like red states because people were like, this fucking asshole, I need to build my argument against him. $15, one ticket, please.
I'm sure it was more like 12.
You're right. It was
Yeah.
2004.
And back then, in red states, you could probably go to a matinee for like $6.
Exactly.
Yeah, but with conversion from then to now, $6 was $1 million.
Oh wow, that's a
That's
lot.
true.
I
It's
mean,
been
it
a
was
lot of
2004 was a long
inflation.
time.
That's good. That movie,
Inflation?
adjusted for inflation, would make
Fleshman from
$170 million.
Exposure?
And then
Yeah.
and you got to buy popcorn when you're there, and he gets a taste of that, right?
I mean, because
I don't know that much about the
movie.
movies.
I mean, I assume that's a weight joke, which I don't appreciate. That
No,
he's
I'm
just
just
a
saying-
taste
no,
of everyone's popcorn.
Adjusted 175.
everyone likes popcorn.
No, in the way that a lot of millionaires buy their private ranch and start a vineyard or something, of course, Michael Moore has a popcorn
Wine
farm.
Cave. Right. Remember when he made a movie last year called Fahrenheit 11/9?
Yeah.
And it was huge. Everyone went to see it.
$6.7 million.
But this is my point. Like,
Well, because the documentary boom is over.
Right, yeah, except no one sees him anymore.
but
Right.
like
It's not
liberals
last year.
don't want to see Michael Moore movies anymore. But
Jesus.
but the idea of someone who disagrees with Michael Moore going to see
Yeah.
a Michael Moore movie is completely foreign.
I mean, I will admit that, although this was to write a review of it, I was asked by someone to write a review of, asked by Alonzo Duralde, movie critic and podcast host, to write a review of Dinesh D'Souza's last movie.
That one was
The one that was not about
Transformers: Dark of the Moon.
Yeah, Star Trek. The one that was the poster promised it would be about how Donald Trump is the Abraham Lincoln of today.
Oh, right. And it's the one where the poster
Death of a Nation.
Death of a
Death of a
Nation.
Nation.
And it was like I was there basically to write a bad review of it,
Yeah.
and there were 6 other people in the theater at the Americana,
Uh-huh.
and they all seemed really creepy and didn't
Yeah.
trust anyone else in the theater. And that was the night that my second son was born, and I
my
didn't miss it.
God.
But there was part of me that was like, okay, these are the last hours.
It could happen.
I went home and my wife went to labor, and I'm like, I can't believe the last hours I spent with my wife before our second baby was born was watching Dinesh D'Souza's stupid movie. Like,
And
Well,
did you
did you learn
ultimately
about the
not write
definition?
the review because you were too busy
no,
then?
I was too
at that
busy.
point?
I had
didn't write the review.
I did
No,
write
you
the
just
review.
it's
named
just
your
such a
son
horror story
Dinesh
that
D'Souza
But my son
Kalan.
is named Dinesh D'Souza Kalan. Yeah.
You had to
your
watch
son
that
is
for
named Death of a
nothing.
Nation, Kalan. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
so I not only watched it, and I had to contribute the price of a ticket to it.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
to no end.
and I mean, it was like, so that I guess is one example of it. But you're right, people were like going to see this Michael Moore's
Yeah.
movies just to be like, oh,
Right. I mean, because like the Dinesh films do well for what they are, but very few people in the grand scheme. Most of his audience, I feel like, waits for it to be available at home, and no one is going to do Oppo research on Dinesh.
no.
Like I went to see 2 Dinesh movies in theaters, and I was like,
Jesus Christ.
I did. Well, because I thought like Obama. What was it? 2016
Air
Obama's
conditioning,
America.
Yeah, well, you wanted to learn about, the secret. I don't even know.
Well,
what
that's because
joke I'm making.
the Death of the Nation was all about how it was actually the Democrats who liked slavery. It's like, you got us, you did it. Like that's a
There
good
you
point,
go.
DD.
I'll tell you, the one where he got me is America, Imagine a World Without Her, where the trailer made
Oh,
it seem
yeah.
like the entire film was an alternate history
Oh,
of what the
okay.
world would
Yeah.
look like today. And I was like, I want to see him spinning
Yeah.
an alternate universe yarn. And he abandons that in the first 10 minutes. It ends up being about Hillary Clinton is literally Satan. As one final thing,
Yeah.
if you're curious, I will neither confirm nor deny whether JFK Jr. went to the Trolls experience with us. So if you buy the
JFK
Patreon
senior
membership,
or junior?
which one did I say?
You didn't say either. You just said JFK.
It could be either
Okay,
or both.
fair
I want
enough,
to keep the
I
mystery
mean,
alive.
if it was junior, big story. If
Yeah.
it was senior, really big story.
Great story.
I mean, he is probably into Trolls, right?
It's got to be the world's oldest Trolls fan, right?
He has to be.
Is that one of those Is Trolls one of those movies where if someone who died in 1963, you brought him back and showed it to them, they'd be like, "This is great. Never seen anything like this."
You've come
Just
so far.
automatically good.
So you bring JFK back and you show him like 6 Underground or whatever that new Michael Bay
Right,
movie
he's
is, and
like,
he's like, "This
"I
is
can't believe
astounding."
this."
I always imagined America could someday produce this.
Right. Yeah. It's like watching the moon landing.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
No,
us.
thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming for a weekday evening record. I'm glad we
yeah.
could make this happen while
Me
everyone was
very
in the
glad
city.
we can make this happen.
Everyone should listen to the Flophouse, obviously.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say it. Yeah, check out the Flophouse podcast.
And do you have any other specific things you want to plug, sir?
Yeah, if you're in Brooklyn, New York, and you want to wet your whistle, why don't you head down to one of my wife's many bars, Charlene's on Flatbush Avenue, Hinterlands over in Kensington, or the brand new Minnie's Bar, and get your coat stolen
I was
like a
gonna say
celeb.
it's probably the best place I've
I
ever
have
had my
gotten-
coat stolen.
Blind drunk in Charlene so many times.
No, that makes me feel really good.
So, a lot of my 20s.
Yeah, and I just reiterate, listen to the Flophouse podcast. It's kind of like this episode of the podcast that you're listening to, only it doesn't have the two guys you already like in
Yeah.
it.
It's 3/5 of this show, but without the guys that you want to listen to.
It has
Yeah.
the three guys you just fell in love with.
Exactly. Sick of us?
Yeah. Let's pawn them off onto you guys.
That's how podcasts work, right? You want to pawn your audience off, right? You want to get rid of them.
I gotta get rid of this
You got to move them
audience.
through, right?
They are
right.
wearing me down.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for being here. And thanks to Ange Gudo for our social media. Thanks to Lee Montgomery for our theme song, Joe Bowen and Pat Rounds for our artwork. Go to Patreon, where the Trolls episode will be coming up shortly and other fun
Most
stuff
likely, sure.
happening. Next week, we are discussing Rachel getting married.
That sounds right.
Right? That is the correct episode, right? Am I wrong about this? Is there something in between?
I
Check
don't
the
know.
schedule.
Jesus, yes. Next week is Rachel getting married. Yeah, Rachel,
Oh,
congratulations.
Next week,
You're getting
producer
married.
Rachel is getting married.
Mazel tov, Rachel.
With
Wow,
guests
great.
Olivia Craighead and Io Edebiri
It's a good episode.
from the Iconography podcast.
Yeah.
And Rachel, you are now under the gun. You have 1 week to find a suitable partner to spend the rest of your life with. And I think that's all the wrap-up stuff. I don't know. I'm forgetting all the things I usually say. Did I cover all the
covered
things?
all the things.
I covered all the things.
It's just late and we're sweaty.
It's late. I'm sweaty. And as always, Raymond Shaw is the kindest, bravest, warmest, most wonderful human being I've ever known in my life.
All right.
Are you gentlemen aware that The Rise of Skywalker did that with Fortnite?
I did, yeah. That's what the Dead Speak alludes to, right? Didn't they like throw the
Yep. The
Palpatine message?
beginning of that movie happens on Fortnite.
Oh, I was
cool.
wondering why they didn't show that in the movie, since it seemed like a missed
Man, I'm
opportunity.
surprised you didn't
Feels like
mention it
we're
on the
the movie
podcast.
stars.
You're secret
I
of
think it
Fortnite.
was handled by Oscar Isaac
Were they
saying,
on the Death Star
unfortunately,
Jedi?
Palpatine returned.
Or were they
Somehow.
watching from like someplace else?